Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the Two Mics on Extra Time. We're keeping you entertained throughout the night. Coming up on the show tonight, we've got something of a Russian theme after Everton's visit to Krasnodar last night. They eked out a draw in the Europa League, which I could barely stay awake for, to be honest. Mike Porky Parry has some tales of daring do to tell us about on his time in Russia. And of course, he's an expert on the country. We'll be giving him a quiz on it as well. We'll also be looking ahead to a massive weekend of Premier League football with 3 live TalkSport commentaries: Aston Villa against Manchester City, Manchester United against Everton, and Chelsea v Arsenal. And of course, we want to hear from you as well. 08717 22 3344. You're listening to Extra Time with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time with the Two Mics. Thanks very much indeed to Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy and Gary Lineker for the last 3 hours of the Sports Bar. And of course, you can hear Andy once again back at 10 o'clock tonight with Bobby Gould. There's a lot of rustling going on in the background. Mike Parry has finally arrived. But before you say anything, very good morning to you. I just want to introduce tonight's theme. Base your nationality on how good a national anthem was, I would want to be Russian.
Well,
that is a fantastic song, isn't it?
I tell you what, mate, in many ways...
It makes it send shivers down my spine.
I wouldn't mind being Russian anyway, because Russia's a magnificent country. Mother Russia is everything to Russians, right? Now, the thing is, and by the way, a good morning to you as well, pal.
Very good morning to you,
And listening to Gary Lineker tonight, and there's a lot to listen to, I love it when he always says... Everton were the best club I ever played for, the best club side I played for.
I didn't hear that bit.
Oh, yeah, he said
say
that. But he says it consistently. Whenever I'm at a big Everton game, Everton Liverpool or something like that, I always tweet Gary to say, you know, remember this one? Because he talked about the game which they beat Liverpool 2-0 in the season he was there.
Yeah.
And he always says, best team I ever played for. So that's
funny
a great
enough,
tribute.
it's a team that he's the most least often kind of mentioned with, isn't he?
Well, he's only there 1 year.
Everybody talks about Leicester, everybody talks about Spurs,
he was only there. He was only there 1 year.
Yeah.
Mysteriously, he was bought. The great story I can tell you about that, and Andy Gray will tell you. Andy Gray, of course, still resident here at TalkSport, and a great Everton legend and hero. Andy was relaxing in his lounge at his home, you know, his luxury home on Merseyside. Yeah. After winning the league championship in 1985,
right.
And a car pulled up at the bottom of the driveway, and Howard Kendall got out and started walking up the driveway, and Andy Gray said to whoever was in the room with him, his wife or whatever it was, he's bought Lineker. He's getting rid of me. And
he just knew that immediately.
He just knew because Gary was the most talked about footballer in the country at the time.
And that was him coming from Leicester to Everton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Everton were the top team. You know, Everton had just won the league championship. Therefore, they had first grabs on the up-and-coming players. Gary Lineker was the up-and-coming player. And Andy tells me that story with great poignancy. He knew he was on his way out when he saw Howard Kendall walking up his driveway. But the strangest story was, after a brilliant season in which Gary scored 40 goals, suddenly, whoosh, he was off to Barcelona.
Right.
And it never really been explained why.
And presumably that was just a case of the offer being too big for Everton to turn down.
Well, Everton were the biggest club in the country at the time. I know that's...
Yeah, but they've always needed to sell players, haven't they, if they get a big enough offer? If they get a big enough offer. Look at Wayne Rooney, Marouane Fellaini...
No, Mike, go back to the mid-'80s when Everton used to consistently set transfer records. They consistently spent money on people like Bob Latchford, who was a record signing. Alan Ball from
Birmingham.
Alan Ball from the 60s was a record signing. Bob Latchford record signing. Lineker, I think, was a record signing because he talked about the tribunal and he was valued about £1 million, but it went down to 800,000. And Everton were the club. I mean,
and do the fans still have a soft spot for him? Then they don't feel that he betrayed them slightly. And
not in any way at all.
Not in any way at all.
except that nobody quite knows why he went.
Right.
You know, whenever I've seen him spoken about it, he's always said to me, he said, well, I was told I was being sold.
Yeah.
It wasn't a question of Gary Lineker suddenly, you know, getting too big for his boots and saying, right, I'm off to Barcelona. That wasn't the case at all.
Yeah.
He was, as he said tonight, suddenly just asked to go and see Howard Kendall and was told they'd accepted an offer for him for Barcelona, but one of the biggest clubs in the world. But anyway, really fascinating stuff.
Well, let's talk about Russia, because Everton were out in
Russia,
Krasnodar.
brilliant.
Now,
I reckon...
I'm very glad in a way that Everton managed to get that to the last-minute equaliser.
No, it wasn't a last-minute equaliser.
It was a last-minute equaliser.
It wasn't a last-minute equaliser. They were
about 10 minutes to go.
They were equal to the team. I thought that Krasnodar.
Yeah. Do you know there's two teams in Krasnodar?
I know, and they're both playing the same stadium.
The guy I spoke to yesterday from Moscow said that actually the supporters of the other Krasnodar team will also be there in the stadium supporting the other Krasnodar team, because that's what they like. Can you imagine that happening here?
Yeah, imagine Everton, Liverpool supporting the, you know...
Well, you can imagine all Liverpool fans, you know, turning up at Goodison for the second leg, you know, with Krasnodar. Can't really see it.
Very odd indeed. But I believe there are great Russian instincts in me. You know, massive loyalty to my country, values that are based on the sheer discipline of life, and that is, you know, life is hard, but you've got to take it by the scruff of the neck, and you've got to headbutt it and say, you know...
More violence from you.
No, not violence, but, you know, it's tough being Russian because, of course, it gets very cold out there. And if you live in a little village in Siberia where it never goes below minus 35 degrees... Sorry, never goes above minus 35 degrees.
Well, apparently Krasnodar, though, which is down by the Black Sea, is one of these kind of resort communities. It's quite warm down there.
It's where a lot of in the old system, where it was very corrupt. It was very communist, obviously, but very corrupt. And some would say it was a better system for the majority of the people than the system that exists now, because, of course, although it was communism, 99% of the people, you know, had at least sort of food and shelter.
Well, they were still queuing up for bread and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were. But
I think you're going to have a hard sell trying to convince me that Russia was a great place to live.
No, I'm not saying Russia was a great place to live, not under any circumstances. What I'm saying is that so much wealth in Russia is invested in so few people, like 0.01%.
Well, it's a bit like here, though, isn't it?
Hold about 99% of the wealth of Russia. So what I'm saying is, I have great Russian instincts, and the first time
Russian instincts?
Sorry, old Krasnodar. Krasnodar. Because it's on the Black Sea, it was one of those resorts where the Russian Politburo guys, when they'd had a hard week in Moscow, would suddenly...
There was a name, wasn't it? What was the name that they used to have for their kind of holiday lodges?
The Dakars.
The Dakars,
yeah. And the Dakars, and there are a few of them down there. Well, most of them had a Dakar in the countryside around Moscow, you know, in the pine forest.
Like a dacha. Isn't it a dacha?
Dakar, and they had like a chateau in the pine forest around Moscow, and a holiday home on the Black Sea, and they would just summon an aeroplane, you know, from the Russian Air Force, and that would fly them and their mistress and maybe 2 barrel loads of caviar down to the Dead Sea, and
the Dead Sea. You mean the Black Sea?
The Black Sea, that's right. The
not
Black
the Dead Sea.
No, not the Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea.
No.
That's an entirely different part of the world.
They'd be going to Israel, wouldn't they? And a couple of cases of champagne, you know, which is very cheap in Russia, obviously, because it's not really champagne. It's like fizzy pop.
Well, they have French champagne, though, there, which
they do.
Fortune.
They do, but they got their own champagne. In fact, I went to a champagne bar in Moscow when it was still a communist country, and they get down there, and so, but my instincts tell me the first time I ever went to Moscow, it was a black and grey country. There was no colour in Moscow. It was still run by the communists.
Red Square?
No, there's nothing red about Red Square. Gorbachev was in charge. It was all perestroika and all this stuff. And the reason I was there was because we at the Daily Express set up a bureau in Moscow.
I thought you were being tapped up by the KGB.
I was tapped up. I was tapped up by the KGB. The KGB wanted me to spy for them. And, of course, that's totally against my instincts.
Why would they want you to do that?
Well, because they saw me as a bright guy from the West, and they thought this guy's...
easily corruptible with drink.
Well, certainly a lot of drink was taken. Because the thing with the Russians is they drink vodka like we drink wine.
Yeah.
So if you go to a dinner in the Kremlin museum palaces or something like that, and you're sitting there, and this guy's walking around and he's pouring, and you think it looks like wine. It comes in as much quantity as wine comes in the West,
right.
but it's vodka. So you get absolutely out of your brain. You haven't got a clue what you're doing. You know,
that's one of their tactics, isn't it? To get you absolutely bladdered and then find yourself in a compromising position with someone or other.
Yeah, it didn't get me, man. You know, I'm too smart a cookie for that. I didn't wake up in bed, you know, with a young lady draped around my neck.
Maybe they couldn't find a volunteer.
Maybe they couldn't find a volunteer. That's a bit harsh, Mike. That is a bit harsh.
This character coming in from England, right? We need a honey trap scenario.
That's,
everybody took the night off. That's a great song, that, isn't it?
Is that the Isley Brothers?
It's not the Isley Brothers, no.
What is it?
I think it's one of the other lot of brothers, isn't it? The Everly Brothers.
Everly Brothers, that's right.
The Isley Brothers were a bit more funky. They're the ones that did Summer Breeze.
Oh, okay, yeah, so that was the Everly Brothers. Breeze? But I tell you what, if we're going to play Dream, I do wish this producer of ours would consult me for the greatest Dream record, because it was, of course, John Lennon, you know.
Well, of course you'd say that.
So long ago.
I don't know that
something
one.
like that.
Neither do you, obviously, either.
Dream.
No, I don't think you know that song.
Wasn't it a dream?
I've never heard that song.
Wasn't it a dream?
I wish this was a dream.
No,
it's more like a nightmare.
Well, I'm going to ask our producer to play it at the end of this feature because it is an eminently better record than the Everly Brothers, right?
The producer says no, apparently.
Well,
let me just read this out to you from somebody who's texted in. We're going to speak to a Dream expert in a moment, but just before we come to her, can we be sure, says this text, that Porky wasn't really recruited by the KGB and isn't now a Russian sleeper agent secretly married to Rosa Klebb and plotting to overthrow the decadent West? I think MI5 should have a sniff around. It's always possible. Now, you told me the other week, and you might not remember this, that you were having some strange dreams.
Strange dreams.
And I thought to help you out, we'd get an expert on, and we've got a dream analyst, certified dream analyst, no less, called Laurie Lowenberg.
Excellent.
She's a syndicated columnist, she's an author, radio personality, speaker, member of the International Association for the Study of Dreams. So I hope that you won't do what you normally do, which is dismiss the expert view and say they don't know what they're talking about. Let's say a very good morning to Laurie. Laurie, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Not at all. Thank you very much for joining us.
Lovely to have you here.
Mr.
Thank
Parry,
you very much.
Who's sitting here, one of the two mics on my right. He's the older, slightly more strange one. He said to me that he's had a few dreams. Now, trouble is, whenever we get an expert on anything on, he always tries to make out he knows more about the subject. So
Not at all.
We'll try and make sure that he doesn't do that. Mike, if you don't mind, would you just tell Laurie about the dreams you've been having?
Yeah, Laurie, it's lovely to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us. First of all, I get my most intense dreams when I'm completely sober. So
not very often then.
Yeah. I hook myself up to that one, Laurie. So the point I'm making is that I think it's a well-known fact from sleepologists that if you drink a lot, you get disturbed sleep. You know, people think that you go into a coma and all that, but you don't. So if I go a few days without a drink, which I often do, I get the most intense dreams. Now, Laurie, it's always about me losing something, and the most recent one, a couple of nights ago, I lost my coat. And I'm walking around this hall where there's some convention or some meeting, and I'm trying to find my coat, and I'm asking everybody, where's my coat? Do you know where my coat is? And all this kind of stuff. It's happened to me with my mobile phone, my wallet, and I've been searching through buildings for my wallet. I go back home to my childhood home where I grew up to try and find and see if it's there.
How about your marbles? You never lost those?
I'm not going to write to that, Laurie. Ignore that, please. Ignore that. This man is honestly of feeble-mindedness. And what I was going to say was, Laurie, in one about maybe a month ago or something like that, I was so convinced that the dream was real. I'd lost my car had disappeared, and I was looking for it, I couldn't find it. I was so convinced that my dream was real that I got up in the middle of the night, which we do a lot actually, because we do a lot of late night shows. But this was there was no other reason for getting up except
is there a question at the end?
Yes, there is. I needed to check out my dream, and I went down 5 floors from my penthouse to the underground basement car park.
5-floor penthouse.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just to check that my car was still parked in its bay, and it was, and I was very, very relieved. That's how vivid it was. What is the problem with me, Laurie, that makes me feel I'm losing everything?
Okay.
Why is that funny?
You might need a long time to answer this, Laurie. Take your time.
Have you been taking your meds?
Have I been taking my medicine?
I'm joking.
No, don't joke. I take 16 tablets a day because I've got a completely knackered heart.
Okay.
But that's never affected
No,
my...
feel free to joke, Laurie. Everybody else does. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you're losing something in a dream, of course, the item you're searching for is the clue of what it's really about in real life. So it seems like your most intense one was you lost your car. Now, the car, to the dreaming mind, it's not about your car at all, but more symbolic of either your drive, your motivation to continue with something, or it can symbolize a certain direction you're going in a project or a relationship.
Yeah, but it won't be a relationship. He hasn't had one of those for years.
I'll ignore that. Ignore that, Laurie. He's this man has a different definition of relationship to me, i.e., he's a looser moralled person than me. But please go on, Laurie.
Okay, so have you lost direction as far as something you are working on, or have you lost your motivation?
Well, I've certainly not lost my motivation. Others around here might say I've lost a bit of direction, but I mean, I couldn't possibly comment on that. But the main point of it all is that it's despairing because wherever I go, I can't find it. I ask people, have you seen my coat? Do you know where my coat is? Did I leave it here? Did I leave it there? My wallet, where is it? Do you? And you know, it's quite. I get quite anguished about it.
You get anxious about it.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's go ahead and explore the emotion that you feel in the dream, because any emotion you feel in a dream is going to be connected to that same emotion you're feeling about something in real life. Okay.
Yeah.
So has there been anything that's kind of caused you some despair or confusion?
Well, I get confused quite a lot, I have to say, but I mean, that's about various aspects of life and business and all that kind of stuff, but not despair. I'm not a despairing person, Laurie. I'm a kind of...
I'm the one that's in despair most of the time.
Yeah, let's get up and get at it and solve this problem or try and, fight back against something or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't get despairing at all. But the another thing about these dreams is they always end up with me going back to my childhood home. Now, is there something in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so all this searching for something, and you always wind back up in your childhood home. So, is there something you feel is missing now that you're an adult and accomplished? Do you feel there's something missing?
Well, my dad died 35 years ago. Maybe, I don't know, and, I grew up with him in my childhood home. I don't know whether there's any connection there.
Are you a father?
No.
Is that something you feel you're missing?
Well, I don't know, really, because I've never really thought about it. And what you don't have, you can't really miss, can you?
He was always giving me advice about fatherhood, even though he doesn't have any kids.
Yeah.
Do you ever think about, I wonder what it would be like if I had been a father?
No, I don't really, because I made the choice that I would have been a bad father. I don't think I'd have been able to sustain a lifelong commitment to bringing children up without veering off the straight and narrow path and without being rather selfish about the direction of my life, wanting to achieve things myself at the expense of other people. That's why I never got married and I never had children.
Weird, eh?
Okay. Interesting. There's something here,
Interesting,
though.
not weird.
With the loss. No, not weird. Something here, though, with the loss of your father. How old were you when he died?
About 25.
Okay. So,
Younger,
were
actually.
you?
Younger. Sorry?
How close were you? What kind of
Well,
relationship
not
did you-
particularly, because like a lot of people in this country, you get to 18 and all of a sudden you're off to university and you hardly ever see your parents
Or
again after that. University of Trent, and so I would say not particularly, but maybe that's a thing. Maybe my guilt is that I didn't have enough to do with my parents after the age of 18 because I, basically left home and was gone and that was it.
This could be it.
Has
that been on your mind lately?
Well, my mum now is getting very old, and you want to do as much as you can for your mother. I'm going to say very old. I'm not being rude there. I mean, she's extremely able, even though she's in her 80s. But I do sometimes think, I hope I didn't neglect my mother when I was younger.
How often do you stay in touch with her?
Oh, I speak to her at least every other day, and I go down to see her every 2 or 3 weeks. She lives down on the coast in Bournemouth.
Okay. This could be it.
Yeah?
Because when our parents age and they get to the point where we know they're not going to be around much longer, it changes your perception of them and your relationship with them.
Well,
I think you're starting to kind of get that missing feeling, that missing out feeling.
He's going to be all alone soon.
No. It's the other way around, Laurie. My mother will definitely outlive me. My heart is so knackered that it'll just pack up on me one day, and that'll be it.
Laurie
Bang,
won't
gone.
know what knackered means.
Well, my heart
Kaput.
is so fragile. I mean, only about 30% of it works, so that will just go bang, and I'll be gone. But my mum, who is a hardy soul, who lived through was brought up as a child during the Second World War, whose house was bombed by the Germans and all this kind of stuff, she'll live till she's 100. My mother will outlive me by about 15 years.
How bad is your heart? You've got me very concerned for you.
Well, I've got...
Don't worry about it. He's been moaning about his heart being something that's going to kill him for about 10 years, right?
No.
He's going to live for plenty of long. He doesn't look after himself. He's fine. Absolutely fine.
Laurie.
He's just looking for sympathy now because you've actually cracked the nut of his fragile psyche, and he doesn't like it very much.
Laurie, I've got dilated cardiomyopathy. It's
so you say.
What do you mean, so I say? I've got my own heart consultant who's one of the most,
Let's get him on then.
One of the most able thoracic consultants in the world,
Thoracic
right?
Park.
Who looks after my heart. And it's a dodgy old ticker. That's an English word for heart, by the way, Laurie, the ticker.
Yes.
And whilst I never make anything of it, I am occasionally asked.
Really?
No, well, I work for charities and things like this, like the Heart Foundation and cardiomyopathy and all that kind of stuff, and so it comes into play. But of course, when you start getting to my sort of age and your heart is knackered, then you have to think about your own mortality, because one of these days, bang, it'll just happen.
Whoosh.
And you have to be aware of that, I think.
I wonder if maybe that's what your car is, your motor.
Really?
Yeah.
What, you think losing my car is actually equivalent to me fearing losing my life?
Yes.
Ah, well, there you
Well,
go,
it
then.
could be.
There you go.
Well, listen, Laurie, it's been fascinating. We could talk for a
Thank
lot
you
longer.
very
I
much
think we'll have to
indeed.
get you back on the next time he has another weird dream, because it's been brilliant the way you've completely dissected the psyche of Mike Parry.
Exactly.
And got to what the real problem is with him. And it's a delight to have spoken to you. Unfortunately, of course, Mike Parry so dominated that particular segment that I wasn't able to say what my dreams were.
Well,
but never mind.
Well,
Don't
nobody's
worry about
interested
that.
in your dreams.
Well, but people are interested
No,
in
they're
my
not.
dreams, but we'll have to come back to Laurie and do that another
You've
time.
never told me you even
Would
have
you
a
mind
dream.
just looking into the light? Well, it's because you don't listen. You
Well,
don't pay
you've
any
never
attention.
All right, tell me about one of your dreams.
It's not time to do that. We're out of time
run out of
already.
time. That's a
because
very
we've got to hear
convenient
from
excuse.
from Ben Fletcher with the sports news coming up. More from the two mics after that.
So long ago,
Dear God.
wasn't it a dream?
Totally murdering it. You're murdering it.
Wasn't it a dream? That's the song I was talking about.
Dream number 9, somebody said.
And I want to thank Billy McNee for tweeting in and saying to the two mics, number 9 dream, Mr. Parry, well said, old MG is a plank.
Well, that's nowhere near as good as Everly Brothers' Dream,
And,
to be honest. I'm sorry.
And
That's
the
not as good
reason
of a
that
song.
Billy has called you a plank is because that's one of the more abusive terms that you use for me in your tweets to me when you don't understand my ration or thinking.
Right. Well, what I'd like to do is just sum up what Laurie said there, because I think
Yeah.
she was getting very close to the kinds of things that nobody ever finds out about you, because you know how
Oh, yeah?
you like to keep your sort of private life very private.
No,
you don't
not
like to
really.
talk about your your unhappy childhood.
No,
And
I
think it
didn't
sounded
have
to
an
me-
unhappy childhood. I
You
didn't
did.
have. No,
Yes,
I
you
didn't.
did. Your
No, I
mother
didn't.
doesn't have any pictures of you because you burned them all.
Well, that's because I didn't like
You just
the
said you
pictures.
didn't have a very good relationship with your dad, right?
No, I didn't say that
Yes,
at
you did.
all. I said that I didn't spend long at home enough really to build that
But
relationship.
that's what I mean.
all.
I mean, there were moments
Yeah.
there when I felt like
But
you
I
were on
was-
the couch. You
No.
were on the psychiatrist's couch, and it was starting to get a little bit uncomfortable, actually. That's
know-
why I kept trying to bring a bit of levity back to
You're
it.
not a child at 18, so it doesn't matter, does it? You're a young person, young
Yeah,
man.
but all this stuff about you fearing the loss of your mother, fearing the loss of your life.
No, I didn't.
Fearing
I
the
don't
loss
fear
of
the
your
loss of
drive.
my mother consciously.
Well, yeah, but that's what she's telling you.
Laurie said that was what my dream was all about, which was a bit...
Do you want to hear what my dream was about the other day?
Yeah, I'd like to hear
Because
that,
I haven't got, obviously, she's not here anymore, so I haven't got a chance for her to actually analyse it, but I'd quite like her to. Maybe if she's still listening, she can send us a little tweet on it.
Yeah.
And you're right to say that I don't remember my dreams very much. I mean,
No.
we all do dream. I mean, according to these figures here, right, the average person has about 1,460 dreams dreams a year, which means about 4 a night.
That's rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
That's rubbish.
Well, I mean, obviously...
I only have a dream a couple of times a week.
Well, no, you just don't remember them. And I think that's the point. I mean, people have said in the past, whenever you wanted to analyse it, what you should do, because sometimes you wake up and if you write it down immediately, then you can remember it. Because if you remember it as soon as you wake up, quite often, 5 minutes later, you've forgotten it again, right? But I had a really weird dream the other morning because it's, we sleep at strange times.
Yes.
And I was walking. Do you remember that? I don't know if you've seen the Monty Python, the Search for the Holy Grail.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
You know that bit where they're walking up that sort of mountain path.
Yes.
And the guy's standing there going, "What is your name?
Yes.
What is your quest?" and all that.
Yeah.
It was a bit like that. It was a path kind of like that, and I was
Right.
walking up this rocky, craggy path.
Right.
But down on the right was this massive big cliff into the sea.
Right.
And I was walking,
a sheer drop.
a very sheer drop, yeah.
Right.
And I was walking up this path, and there was a guy coming towards me. And it wasn't somebody that I recognised, but it kind of looked like somebody I might know. And as I said hello to him, he literally threw himself off the cliff into the water.
Well, a lot of people, when they meet you, feel like throwing themselves into the River Thames,
But then-
which is the closest thing we've got to
But
it around here.
Then I kept walking further, and then there was 2 guys, or a couple, I can't remember, it was 2 people anyway, and they threw themselves off as well.
Well, this is the
But they didn't
effect you
die,
have on people.
because when I looked over, I could see them swimming, even though it seemed like a ridiculous drop, and if you'd actually
Right.
jumped off it, so they weren't killing themselves, they were just jumping into the water.
Very strange.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
very
wondered
weird,
if it was
yeah.
something about people not wanting to be too close to me, or wanting to get too near me, or something like that, because of,
Or maybe, it's some sort of hate mission that you had, throwing people off cliffs and all that kind of stuff.
You see, you're being too simplistic about it.
No, I'm not. No.
I think it's far more deep than that.
Very interesting, but stupid, silly and dumb. Who said that?
Stupid, silly, and dumb.
Yeah,
I don't
very
know.
interesting. But
Not
stupid,
Leonid Brezhnev.
silly and dumb. No, it was the somebody in Rowan laughing. What was it called?
Rowan and Martin's laughing.
Rowan and Martin's laughing.
That's an ancient show.
Yeah,
that.
it was imported from America on a Sunday night. And there was a woman called Judy something who used to say, "Suck it to me," which everybody seemed to think was a very new expression from America.
Now, we've
Remember?
got quite a few texts coming in here. Don't
Right,
forget,
come
you
on.
can actually tweet us at the 2 Mics.
Yep.
You can tweet him at Mike Parry 8, and you can tweet me at IROMG. Eric in Gillingham says this: if Mike Parry's heart is as fragile as he says, should he actually be driving? Then he says, "Brilliant and addictive show, guys." And here's one from somebody who says something rather displeasurable to me. Says, "MG's dreams are probably lasciviously filthy and involve some buxom, nubile young fillies."
Yeah, I would
not
say
true.
that's probably true.
Absolutely not
It's probably true.
Another one says he's searching for the next Mrs. Parry, get him a good night with a woman. And then Matt, the Everton fan, says, what Porky's describing is not dreaming, that's dementia.
No, it's not dementia. I'm not demented. I can tell you that for sure. My brain is as sharp as a.
Well, if you're suffering from dementia, you're not normally described as demented. Actually.
Sharp as a razor. No, not a razor, a rapier. My
Sharp as a blunt
My
razor.
brain is as sharp as a rapier, mate. And there's no problem there whatsoever.
And listen to this. This is another reason why people are picking up on the fact that you don't listen to me, right? Stephen says this at the 2 Mics. You should call it Porky's Life Stories, MG.
Right.
I think he thinks you're just there to listen to him.
Well,
It does feel a bit like that.
No, Mike. Listen, you don't understand. I think our working relationship and
That what you call it?
yeah, the working relationship and the appeal we try to have to our audience is based on the to and froing of our, pretty digestible conversations.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
See? So that's how it works. Now, what you have to understand is that a superior intellect will always overcome an inferior
Yeah, I
intellect.
find that's true, yeah.
Yes, it is absolutely true. And that's why I feel sometimes I have to say a little bit more than you so that the audience get the drift of what we're saying, because you sometimes have a great deal of difficulty in expressing yourself.
I don't think so. Laurie, the dream expert, has tweeted back, and she says what she didn't get a chance to mention is if you go type in whatyourdreammeans.com, it will interpret your dream for you instantly. So we should probably do that and see what it comes up with.
Whatyourdreammeans.com,
right?
So
if you type that into your search engine on
tell
your
you what
mobile
I'll do.
device.
I'll retweet that for the benefit of our listeners, and then they can all have a go at interpreting their dreams.
Well, maybe they can interpret mine for me, because I won't have time to do it and trying to keep you on, time here. Somebody can do that for me.
Laurie also says, she adds, and this is to us, she says, your subconscious is 88% of your mind power. Don't be so quick to laugh it off. Well, I'm not laughing anything off. Isn't it true that we only use about 5% of our brain? Is that right?
Well, you don't. You only use 95% of your brain.
No, I said 5%.
5%?
5%. Isn't it true that most of us only use 5% of our brain?
Well, I think the thing about brains is that people haven't worked out quite what they do.
That's what I'm saying.
And nobody's really sure how much of our brains we use. I mean, obviously some people have got better brains than others.
Yeah, Thoracic Park Classic says Jason. You said Thoracic Park.
I did.
I said Thoracic Surgeon.
I know.
And you said Thoracic Park, which is a play on Jurassic
Just a throwaway
Park.
line.
Yeah.
We've got to upset somebody in Waterloo called Alexander, and I'm not going to read all of it out because one of the quiz questions is about this. He says, I've never heard so much pretentious, ill-informed misinformation being presented as fact as by Mr. Parry. Error after error make me doubt he ever left his hotel to interact with normal Russians or absorb any aspect of our culture. He's obviously an upset Russian. What? He says the Bolshevik Revolution in 1919, and then he tells you when it really was. People apparently
when was it?
I'm not telling you because it's a quiz question.
It was between 17 and 19, you see.
People
but
apparently
the whole thing
call
spun out over 18
I might
months.
have to change the question now. People apparently call their summer holiday homes Dakars instead of Dashers, which I said they were. Poland borders Belgium. Lenin said religion is the opium. Or how about Mao? Try Nietzsche. Why does he keep saying ya? Is he trying German or does he mean da? Brezhnev preceded Gorbachev. Try Andropov. He exhibits none of the standard Russian characteristics, but instead wishes to be something that he isn't. Your programme is usually good, but tonight is just embarrassing and offensive to Russians. So there you go.
That's so
Alexander,
untrue.
the Russian from
That's
Waterloo.
so untrue.
Very unhappy with you.
Well, what's Alexander doing living in Waterloo if he's a dyed-in-the-wool Russian and a Russian patriot?
Eh?
What's he doing living in Waterloo if he's a Russian patriot?
Well,
he should be back
Russians that live in
He should be
Waterloo.
back in Mother Russia, trying to restore a nation which is being broken apart by the what's the word I'm looking for? The disparity between the rich and the poor.
Well,
some of the richest people in the world live in Russia, but so do some of the poorest and some of the coldest.
Some of the richest
Should
Russians
do
in the
something
world
for all
live
those
in,
cold people in Siberia. What's this guy's name again?
Alexander.
Alexander, you should go back there and buy them a few heaters, and then they wouldn't have to live in minus 35 degrees.
I don't think you're going to help
of
yourself
temperature,
here.
should they?
I don't think you're helping yourself here. Just look into the light for a second. Stop upsetting the Russians. It's Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes.
I'm loving angels instead, and through it, oh, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the Two Mikes. Now, this is a bit modern for you, this one. You might not know this one.
That's Robbie Williams.
Oh, you know that one. Good.
Of course I do, because Robbie Williams was a singer with Take That.
He was.
Take That was a band which had one musician, that was Gary Barlow, who wrote music and could play it.
Yeah.
And
they've just broken up again as well.
And four dancers. One of them could sing, that was Robbie Williams.
Yeah.
The other three were just basically dancers. And in fact, one of them, Jason Orange, has refused to get involved in a reunion of the band. And one of the reasons he gave was he felt he never really justified his position in the band because he didn't think he was talented enough to be part of a world-beating group.
Well, it's all very fascinating. I didn't ask you to give me the potted
well,
history of Take That. Thanks very much indeed. We're going to talk to a psychic expert, though, the world's foremost psychic expert on guardian angels, you'll be pleased to know, because we're going to talk about that.
Yep.
First, let me read you this from Peter, who sent this in at the Two Mikes. Porky's heart equals his car. It explains the steam running over champagne bottles, poor tyre pressure, and flies coming through the AC. So, I mean, what he's saying is that dream consultant that we just had on, Laurie, is absolutely right to say that your car, which is in a terrible state, represents your heart. Yeah, and which is, as you say, knackered.
It is knackered. And Michael here, I mean, honestly, people can be very cruel, interpret things that I'm saying in completely the wrong way. He says, I think Mr. Parry's dream about losing his car is just another excuse to tell us he lives in a penthouse. Again and again, says Michael. Well, I don't understand. How can I say I live in a shed if I don't? I don't live in a shed. I live in a penthouse.
You just said you walk down 5 flights. I mean, normally penthouses are a bit higher than 5 flights,
No,
to be fair.
not if they're built on the top of a hill overlooking Epsom Downs, believe me, OK?
Really?
Yeah.
And here's one from Ogre Man who says, I think Porky's coat is a symbolic representation of something else he's lost, possibly his marbles. Anyway, let's get back to the serious business of angels, because every human being, according to a recent study, has a guardian angel. Apparently, you received a guardian angel when you were born.
I totally agree.
You believe all this.
I don't
believe it. I think it's a load of old conference. Let's talk to Tanner Hoy, who is a world-renowned psychic and guardian angels expert. Tanner, very good morning to you and welcome.
Hey, hi guys, how you doing?
Very, very well indeed.
Thank you.
Now, Mike Parry, my co-host here, believes that he has a guardian angel.
I do.
I don't. So can you tell us the story, please? Tell us how is it possible for everybody to have a guardian angel?
Well, what happens when we're born? Everybody is born with a what's called a band of guides. A band would be like a group, and that includes spirit guides and also guardian angels. And the purpose of guides and angels is to guide a person through their life. Most people don't realize, or a lot of people aren't aware that they've even got guides and angels behind them, so they end up getting ignored most of their life. But actually, everyone has guides and angels around them. Common thing that I find happens with people, and a lot of people seem to I was very surprised to find this experience was very common. I've had a lot of people tell me they've been driving on the highway or on the street, and they would come to a green light, but something told them to slow down. And they would slow down, and a car would run a red light from the other way. And they would hear this voice talk to them. And that was more common than I realized. That would be your guardian angel letting you, protecting you and watching over you.
Well, the thing is, Tana, I've got even more practical evidence of how guardian angels help you. For instance, there is a parking angel. Now, the parking angel is called Ambrielle, okay?
Hey?
And it is. And what happens is, what you do is you keep a small figure of an angel in your car. I mean, it can be something you've cut out from a piece of paper. And when you're setting off for a destination, you say to yourself,
That's right.
You say to yourself out aloud, Ambrielle, please help me find a parking space at my destination. And when you get there, believe it or not, in a really crowded situation, there's a space just for you, and you drive into it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Does she stop you getting a ticket as well?
Sorry?
Does she stop you getting a ticket as well?
Yeah, it's a parking space made available to you. No, I'm telling you.
Have you tried that?
Of course I've tried it. And the angel Ambrielle will always look after you. In another situation,
Well, if
Tana,
everybody's got one of those, then, of course, there's not enough parking spaces to go around, is there?
haven't you just heard Tana say that most people... Most people do not take any notice of their guardian angel, ignore it for most of their lives. That's right, isn't it,
And the
Tana?
other thing is, not everybody is going to the same place at the same time.
That's right.
Well, you haven't tried finding a parking space in London, Tanner, have you, obviously?
So it's like they can be, Mike, you've got an angel around you. You've got the Archangel Michael,
I have,
who works with you very closely.
Well, that means we've both got the same one, doesn't it?
No, because you see, it's of our colours. My colour is blue, my team playing blue, Everton playing blue, and blue is the colour of the Archangel Michael.
The Archangel.
Yeah, who lets he lets you he releases.
Well, why can't
fear.
I have the Archangel Michael?
Well, because you haven't sought an association with him. Now, here's another one for you, Tana, which I know all about.
Tanner.
Right, Tanner? Yeah, the Archangel Chamuel. Okay, brings courage, love, strength to keep going when all else fails. He'll also help you with money. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, how many guardian angels? How many guardian angels can you have? Because Mike Parry's very greedy, so he now wants 3 guardian angels. I mean, how many are you supposed to have?
The average person that I have met and talked to and done readings for, I've done this for about 22 years as my full-time vocation. I find the average person has between 30 to 50 guides, spirit guides, and guardian angels around them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you have to remember there's no shortage of spiritual helpers out there. Something that I hear people say a lot, which is totally misinformation. But there's even a show here in the U.S. where a woman who talks to angels says this, and it's not true. And that is, when you die, you do not become an angel. So a loved one, when you die, a loved one that watches over you, what I call it more like a guiding light. So just as a mother would watch over her children when she's alive, she would watch over them from the other side. But we don't grow wings when we die.
So is there a finite number of angels then? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. There's a finite, I would say an infinite number of angels, because, back whenever the world was created or the universe was created, these beings were just part of this whole creation. So there is no shortage of guardian angels. And Mike, what you were saying about parking spaces, I'm glad you brought that up, because I always tell people, just keep an open mind and try that. Just say, before you go, call out to the angel and just say, help me to find a space. And then the key is, you have to go into the crazy busy area where you wouldn't expect to find space.
That's right.
Yeah, and it will be there. I use that all the time, and I always find the best parking space.
Yeah, and me as well. Now, the other thing which I know about, Tana, is I go out...
Tomato, I don't mind.
Yeah, I go out onto my roof garden sometimes. It's attached to my penthouse flat, right?
That's handy.
And I'm there in the morning, and all of a sudden I see a white feather on the floor. And the white...
Yeah, that's fantastic.
The white feather's indication that
I thought that was an indication of cowardice, isn't it?
No, it's an indication my guardian angel has been around during the night, so I know I'm being
right.
looked after.
What is it, a duck?
No, it's a feather,
Why is there
isn't
a feather there?
Because it's the feather has, filtered to earth.
From
Yeah, that's true.
Pigeon feather.
Could be any feather. Could be a feather from any animal.
The thing is, I think what the important thing is, you're right, that the feather could be from any animal, but I think that it's symbolic of of the angel being there because we associate feathers with them. So I think it's more of the intention. I wouldn't say that it was necessarily an angel feather. It could be, but I think when I've been around, and I'm glad you brought that up. You're very informed about angels. I'm really happy to know that.
Oh no, I believe in them. Sometimes I go and lie on the floor in my garden, and for a minute, then I open my eyes.
Is that when you've fallen over?
No. I open my eyes.
Bottles of wine too many.
Please don't be, dismissive of something you know nothing
It's
about.
mumbo jumbo you're talking. Absolutely.
No, it's not. And I open my eyes, Tana, and I suddenly look up and I see a cloud formation which gives me an instant image of something which hits me like a rocket, and I think, God, I should have realised that. That's another sign for me.
An image of what?
Well, an image of anything. It could be an image of the shape of something which reminds me I've got to do something, or it could be an answer to one of my problems, an image in the sky.
Nobody's got an answer to your problem.
Yeah, it could be. Is that not right, Tana?
That's right. That's right. That's true. And I mean, I know that it does. I understand. Being a psychic, I'm used to talking about these things and dealing with them every day. But I understand the concept of angels and these beings with wings can sound very ridiculous to certain people.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, and what I always say to them is, just to try to keep an open mind, and just all I say is, if you want to know, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, fine, yeah.
Well, what happens,
Yeah,
let me ask you a question, Tanner. What if somebody has something terrible happen to them? Does that mean that they haven't been seeking the help of the guardian angel, or that the guardian angel is just kind of... I'm not asking you, I'm asking Tanner,
No, I just
who's
thought
the
that, you know.
expert. Does it mean that they've been abandoned by the guardian angel? What?
No, not at all. I mean, that gets into a whole kind of other discussion, but the best way to explain that is that, okay, we are born with this protection, these angels around us, guardian angels that protect and watch over us. And at the same time, we are all reincarnate and reborn on the earth to learn earthly lessons. So our guardian angels are going to protect us and watch over us.
That's right.
But there are certain things that we will go through that are that we have kind of chosen experiences before we were born for our spiritual growth.
So it sounds like you need a guardian angel of the phone lines. Tana is gone.
I was going to tell Tana about the crystal.
Tana,
I have a crystal hanging up in my kitchen because the amount of energy which is transmitted through crystals.
I had no idea you're such a weirdo.
I'm not a weirdo.
Crystals, feathers.
Why am I a weirdo?
Because you believe in all this rubbish.
It's not a question of belief.
Do you really seriously think that if you drove into central London, in Grosvenor Square, for example, where the American Embassy is, in the hopes that you'd find a parking spot, and you had your little angel with you, that you'd find one?
I do.
You wouldn't.
I do.
It's rubbish.
No. I'm sorry.
Absolute
you don't believe
rubbish.
in anything, Mike. I do believe in things, and it's the power of thought and the power of will of making it happen, which has made me a success in life and made you largely a blinking failure. That's what it's all about.
Really? How
That's
about
what
this
it's all about.
from Adrian, who's tweeted at the two mics? He says, a white feather is a sign that Porky has a diseased pigeon living in his penthouse roof garden. You need a shotgun to get rid of it.
Oh, you think that's very funny, do you?
Perhaps you could get a shotgun angel to make sure you don't shoot yourself in the head while you're crawling about on the floor looking for feathers.
Why do you mock that which you don't understand?
I do understand
Why do you
it.
mock that which you don't understand?
Listen, I'm not mocking Tanner Hoy. You can go to tannerhoy.com. That's not Tana Hoy, it's not Tana Hoy, it's tannerhoy.com. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. I've got to read some of these tweets and texts that have been coming in as well.
Okay.
Here's one from Pete in Barnsley. He says, hi, Mike. He says, could you ask Porky if his guardian angel likes tinned tomatoes on toast? And Gene in Brighton says, if Mike Parry's car equals his heart, does that mean he's lost his heart? And if so, who to? Scandal looms. A strange one here from Graham in Glasgow.
Oh, yeah?
I think he's obviously lost the plot. He says, Porky speaks more sense than anyone on the radio. He's a good lad.
Oh, thank you very much indeed.
That's very unusual. And what about this one? Do you remember the Guardian Angels, those Muppets who patrolled the tube in their red berets and white T-shirts?
do.
They started off in New York, didn't they?
They started off in New York, came over here. One of them was a very sort of exotic lady, wasn't she, who was married to the guy who was head of the Guardian Angels.
That's right. He was a Hispanic guy, wasn't he? Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, and but they came over here and it lasted about like sort of 2 months, and then people thought, just a couple of jokers.
I think they got fed up with all the delays on the tube.
Yeah, I think they must have done, yeah. Right, one here from Ross. He says, I wonder if Mike Parry's Guardian Angels can help him correctly identify the name of the guest. Totally unnecessary, mate. You interpret the name as you see it.
Well, you interpret it 3 different ways.
Why does Porky always agree with the deluded idiots you have on the show, says Nick. Well, hang on, isn't that a bit insulting to our guests, Nick? They're not deluded idiots. These people are experts in their field.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, it proves that if I can match what they're saying and really, you know, meet them with information on their subject, it must show how well-read I am on a number of subjects. And Stoney says, Mr. Parry, Mike Parry, you're already a highly evolved human being by your criteria. Didn't you say last week you're 4-eyed with a tiny brain?
Well, you did say that we would all be evolving soon into people with tentacle-like fingers, so we could use the phone.
Yeah.
Large feet and a beak. I think you were right in saying, weren't you?
Absolutely. We've got a convert here, Mike. His name's Will.
See, there's another example of you not paying any attention to what I just said.
I did pay attention to what you said.
Yeah, you just roll right over it.
You were trying to interrupt me, and I don't take to being interrupted.
Well, it's called the 2 mics, this show. I'm not interrupting you. We're sharing the microphone.
And I was about to pay you a compliment by saying Will has sent us a tweet saying, terrific show yet again, fellas. To both mics. It's the first time I listened live on the podcast, and I have to say it's highly enjoyable. I haven't enjoyed anything. I laughed as much in a long time. That's great. So Will now, instead of picking up the podcast tomorrow morning, which of course is available, folks, and will be from about what, Mike? From about mid-morning tomorrow?
Well, hopefully, yeah. I mean, the trouble is, people give us a lot of grief sometimes when it comes out a little bit late. I mean, it's not really in our hands. We're reliant on the tech guys here at TalkSport who are very busy.
Very good.
Who are very good. And it has to go in a kind of conveyor belt. And sometimes, you know, they either have a problem with it or it takes a little bit longer than other times. We try and get it out as close to kind of lunchtime as we possibly can. Yeah. So many apologies if that doesn't happen.
Because we take 3 hours out of the middle of the show, it's a 5-hour show, it's a lot of information now for people to have to process and put together. So we're extremely grateful to our colleagues in... Which department is that?
The technical department, the digital department.
Digital department, yeah. That's
Tanner,
right.
the guy we were just talking to, Tanner Hoy, says,
very grateful to them for doing what they do.
I was blown away by how much Mike knew about Guardian Angels.
Thank you. I do. I mean, it's a study. I mean, you think that it's all a load of rubbish and all that kind of stuff. But if I have a belief, Mike, that I have a Guardian... I've told you before, and you mocked me again. Do you remember the time I said to you, I was on the motorway and I was getting really low on juice, right?
Petrol, you mean?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And
who calls it juice?
Well, I call it juice.
Do you?
And that's a frightening moment because you think so I'd even moved into the slowest lane because I thought if my car packs up now, I'm going to have to...
Otherwise known as the slow lane.
The slow lane, that's right, yeah.
The slowest lane.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I'd have to move on to the hard shoulder and then you'd have to wait hours for somebody to come out, bring you a gallon of petrol, which could probably cost...
Have you not got like a breakdown service?
250 quid or something? Yeah, I have, but it still takes hours for them to come out, doesn't it? Anyway, so...
Last time when I burst my tyre, do you remember, they were there within half an hour.
Well, that's very good indeed, yeah. Of course, Mercedes do provide a tailor-made service, yeah, and that wouldn't be a problem, of course. Anyway, I get to the top of the slip road, right? I didn't even know if I had enough juice to get to the top of the slip road. And at the top of the slip road, there was a sign for 2 little villages, one to the right, one to the left. And they're both called something like, I don't know, Bushy under the Naze or something like that. Really strange names.
Bushy under the
Naze.
Or
something, or Toll Puddle without the martyr or something like that, you know what I mean? And of course the big decision was, do I turn right, do I turn left?
Yeah.
It's
a sliding doors moment, isn't it?
It's a sliding doors moment. That's a very good analogy. And something in my head said turn right. Yeah. Something in my head said turn right. Now, the thing is, I already then had a difficulty...
Was it no left turn?
No, it was right or left. But I already had the difficulty of having to get over the motorway around a big roundabout, which, for all I know, might have used all my juice up.
Yeah.
And it was uphill to the right.
Being a very sophisticated car, it should tell you exactly how many miles you've got left to drive, though.
I don't know how to use that sort of device. And it was...
it's wasted on you, that car.
It is, yeah. And to turn left would have sent me downhill. And I thought, well, surely that's the most obvious thing to do, because that car can roll without using petrol.
You have to put it in neutral.
You have to put it in neutral, that's right, yeah. But something in my head said, turn right, turn right, turn right. Anyway, I turned right. It was dark. I went round a bend, and what did I see? Incredibly, the lights of a Shell petrol station.
Really?
Yeah, up ahead of me. And
was there not a sign on the motorway to say there was a petrol station?
No, not at all. And it was about a mile.
Is this your petrol angel you're talking about now?
Well, it's my guardian angel. Anyway, I got in there, I filled up, and I said, whoa, blimey, I said, I'm sure relieved. I said, if I'd have turned left off the motorway, where's the next petrol station. He said over 14 miles.
Really?
So how about that? How about that for a... And honestly,
Well, that's just serendipity.
No, it's not, you see. You think it is, but I believe, and I sincerely believe that's it. And
So do you think your guardian angel saved your life then, instead of allowing you to die like a dog when you had your heart problem?
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I think that was probably more down to Dr. Banner, my consultant at Harefield Hospital.
Well, that's kind of more important, isn't it?
Who did a lot.
I mean, saving your life's a bit more important than finding petrol.
Yeah, but the guardian angels must have been around because nobody for about 18 months could work out what was wrong with me. People thought I had a lung condition. People thought I was, psychosomatic, started giving me tablets and all this rubbish.
Right.
And nobody worked out until I went to yet another X-ray, and the woman taking the X-ray said, "You've got fluid on your heart." I said, "What?" "Sorry, on your lungs." I said, "How do you know?" She said, "I can see from the dots on the..." She said, "Go back and tell your doctor you've got fluid on your lungs. That probably means you've got a heart problem." And she diagnosed it in 30 seconds. Now, she could have been my guardian angel.
Oh, she could have just been the person they should have sent you to in the first place.
When you've got money troubles, Mike, cut out a guardian angel from a piece of white paper, right?
Where am I going to find a guardian angel?
Well,
guardian angel book.
No, you draw it on a piece of white
draw
paper.
one.
You draw one.
Why don't you draw one for me, right?
Why?
And then I can take a picture of it and send it out to our legion of Twitter followers. Then I'll have it with me all the time.
I can draw you one if you want.
Come in, we'll go to the next break. Why don't you draw me a guardian angel?
I will. But what I was going to say to you was...
Can it be male or female?
No, they're gender neutral. And if you cut that out and put that in your wallet,
Doesn't matter if you fold it up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you fold it up or not. Doesn't matter. And women put them in their purses. That will help you to manage your money.
Really?
Without a shadow of a doubt. I've tried it several times.
I'll tell that to the mortgage broker next time he's trying to get me a mortgage. I'll say, don't worry about the repayments. I've got a guardian angel in my wallet.
Without a shadow of a doubt. But I know not why you mock on these things.
It's rubbish.
As I said, when what's his name again? Tarner was on. I said to you, you mock that which you don't understand.
I do understand
that's true.
I do understand it. I also understand that, once again, you were supposed to be telling us about your crusade to save the world. And we've run out of time.
I haven't got a crusade to save the world. I haven't got a crusade to save the world.
What crusade have you got then?
I've got a crusade to make sure we don't waste too many resources trying to do ridiculous things which won't save the world.
Like what?
Well... I can't understand why everybody's so concerned about saving the warbler, which is some kind of bird in this country, which is going to go extinct if we don't do something like...
Well, because it was revealed this week that half the Earth's wild animals have vanished in 40 years.
But what does that matter?
It means that there's an awful lot of problems going in the world, because it means...
What's it matter?
Well, because animals are beautiful things. They deserve to be on the planet just like we do. Yeah. And, you're a man that's always telling me that I'm cruel to my dog.
No, I'm not.
You're now saying you don't care that entire species of animals are never going to be seen again.
Look, animals will die in the evolutionary process. Dinosaurs are dead and gone. And eventually elephants will go, and so will hippopotamus and everything else, because I'm afraid that is the life cycle of species.
Yeah, but if we're killing them because of the expansion of man's greed, then I think something should be done about it.
It's not greed to build houses for people to live in rather than to live in trees.
Well, it is
There's
actually.
no greed there.
It is actually.
We should knock down a lot more forests in this world and build a lot more dwellings for people who don't have them.
Well, let's see. Well, maybe we should knock a few dwellings up in Epsom where you live, but you don't want that to happen, do you? You don't want it in your backyard. We're going to talk to Douglas Fisher coming up. He's the editor of the Daily Planet. He's going to be talking about how much oil production is going on in the United States now. Soon they're going to be producing more oil, by the way, than Saudi Arabia.
That's a very good thing.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. We've been tackling a great many social issues on the show this morning.
I know
worked
that
out
was.
that Mike, who was that?
Crowded House.
Very good.
Yeah,
you're on fire tonight with your musical references, because normally you get them all wrong.
No, I don't. It's
Where a Crowded House from? Can you answer the supplementary
Crowded
question?
House from the States?
No.
Crowded House are from Scotland?
No.
Crowded House, in my view, Crowded House probably come from Scandinavia.
No. You're not getting any warmer. New Zealand, actually, funnily enough.
New Zealand?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know there were any groups in New Zealand.
Not very many bands come out of New Zealand.
No, that's right,
But there we are. Actually, I should remind you, did you see that story about Michael? After we talked about it the other week, Michael Phelps, who was done for drunk driving.
Yes.
A little bit earlier on in the week.
Yes.
He was the guy that you thought was the lead singer of R.E.M.
Oh, that's right.
Some people were remarking about that.
Oh, did they?
Very bad news for R.E.M. They were tweeting in on Tuesday saying, bad news for R.E.M. that, Michael Phelps has been arrested. We won't be able to do it.
Yeah, but it's a very similar name, isn't it?
Michael Stipe.
Stipe, well, there you go. That's very similar.
Nothing like it. Let's talk to Douglas Fisher.
Let's do that.
This is a man who is a journalist with the Daily Climate, because he wants to talk to us about what you were saying.
Excellent.
It doesn't matter that all of these species of animals are dying out, but he also wants to talk about the oil production now, which is going up and up and up in the United States, and will soon outstrip Saudi Arabia's oil production, which is not necessarily a good thing. Let's find out from Douglas what he makes of it all. Douglas, a very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning to you both, Mike.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks for
Hi,
thanks
Douglas.
for joining
Thanks for joining us.
Now, Mike Parry is what I can only describe as a bit of a Luddite in these matters. I mean, I'm not by any means a signed-up member of Greenpeace or anything like that, but when you see a story that says that half the Earth's wild animals have vanished in the last 40 years, you have to be a bit concerned about that, don't you?
Oh, yeah, it is it is quite alarming. I mean, the other side of that story is that the population has doubled. The human population has doubled in that period.
Well, isn't that indicative, Doug, that there's not going to be room in the world for all of us and all the animals at the same time? That's why the dinosaurs had to go. There's got to be more room for humanity to expand. And if humanity expanding means that species of animals vanish, then there's nothing we can do about it, because we're not going to put the survival of animals over the survival of the human race, are we?
Well, yes, I wouldn't bring the dinosaurs into this, but and predictions are difficult.
Yeah.
Well, the dinosaurs died for a different reason. I mean, the belief is that the Earth was hit by a giant meteor.
Nobody really knows. But I mean, for instance, Doug, if I can get down to it, now you're in America, we're here in Britain.
Yes.
In this country, we're worried about the fact that the marsh warbler, which is a bird, and there's only 7 breeding pairs remain of a once popular songbird in this country, we're all worried that's going to disappear. I don't understand why. I don't wish to be, unkind or seem heartless, but it wouldn't really affect my life if the marsh warbler suddenly disappeared.
Well, but those birds are sentinel species. They tell us a lot about our environment. They make a rich world. I mean, it's somewhat like having wilderness. I live in Montana, where I'm surrounded by wilderness. I don't often get into it, but it's enormously. There are a lot of people here who live here because they love the idea of wilderness, and it's just knowing it's there and that it's part of the planet's diversity. I mean, yeah, you're right. The marsh warbler, I've never seen one. You guys could polish off the last 7 for dinner tomorrow, and I wouldn't change my life at all.
Sure.
But, it'd be a small dinner.
Looking at the American thing again, Doug, I mean, I would imagine at one time, maybe in about 13 or 1400, that the island of Manhattan was a wildlife nature reserve. You can imagine with rivers on either side and, the climate being temperate one minute and then cold and then hot. It must have been an absolute wildlife emporium. Well, it's now a huge block of concrete because people had to inhabit it. Isn't that normal? Isn't the human race always going to overcome wildlife?
I wouldn't say so. I think in the past 40 years we've seen a phenomenal change in the states. Since you're using the states, with like the Clean Air Act and some various the banning of DDT. We thought the eagle was going to be gone or the osprey were going to be gone, and they're not. They're coming back.
Yeah.
Wolves are coming back in Yellowstone. An hour's drive from me.
And that would be a terrible loss, I think. And
Eagles would. I agree.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, I agree with Douglas that for example, when you and I were small children living in London, well, you weren't living in London at the time, but there used to be this terrible fog in London all the time, which was not created by the weather. It was created by the burning of an awful lot of coal, because that was the only source of heating that people had.
Yeah.
Now they cleared all that up. They made smokeless coal. We don't have that anymore. In the same way that they've taken the lead out of the petrol that we use, so that people don't breathe in such terrible fumes. And you can't. I mean, as I say, I'm not by any means a green campaigner. However, we have managed to do a lot of things. I saw a story the other week, Douglas, which suggested that because they did away with those those hairsprays and the various hydrocarbons or whatever it was that would create the ozone hole, the ozone layer is now recovering.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's a total case where the globe came together and realized, there's a problem, and it was the British Antarctic Survey that found that, and identified the problem, fixed it, and now it's on the mend. I mean, it's going to take a long time before that whole patches up. But, it's on the mend.
Now, Doug, on the intro to introducing to our show, and we're very grateful to have you on the show, thank you very much, a point was made of the fact that you're worried that America will soon produce as much oil as Saudi Arabia. Surely that's a really good thing, because we're often held to hostage by the political machinations of the Middle East, whereas if America's producing all its own oil, surely that's a better lifestyle and a better, more secure life for all Americans.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm worried so much about it. It's fascinating in what it has done to geopolitics, to the globe. I mean, the Middle East in some ways. The U.S. imports now 21% of its liquid fuel consumption. In 2005, so 10 years ago, it was at 60%. We were 60% of all the liquid fuels we needed. The U.S. imported. Today it's 21%.
Yeah.
Well, and so China sent. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go on. No, please finish.
Well, so in some ways, it changes geopolitics incredibly. The Middle East is much more of China's problem now. Last week China sent a warship to Iran. First time ever.
Yeah, is that right? Yeah, I didn't know that. Now, I've got some good news for you, Doug. I read in the business pages of the newspapers here in London that Exco, which is one of America's biggest oil companies, and Rosneft, which is Russia's biggest oil company, have signed a deal together to explore the Arctic for billions of barrels of oil. There's more oil under the Arctic than there is under Saudi Arabia. Now, to me, that is a great thing, because that means, again, very cheap oil, better lives for us all. Who cares about the Arctic being drilled for oil? It's not going to do much in the way of scarring it, and it's a good thing.
Who's going to scar it?
Of course, it's not one oil well. It's not going to scar the whole of the Arctic.
Well, they're not going to just stick
but you're
one
not
oil well.
Talking one oil well.
No, exactly. You see, he's got a very rudimentary understanding.
Roads.
He's got a very rudimentary understanding. You go up to Scotland, for example.
Yeah.
You go up to the Western Isles.
Sure.
And the Outer Hebrides and the Inner Hebrides, and you can actually see how you've got these oil derricks set up in the middle of the sea, very, very close to land.
Sure.
And it looks horrible. Now, I don't mind you saying that, we need the oil, and yes, you could say, well, it's only, it's all about the cosmetics of the area, but it's a very beautiful part of the world.
Well, it is.
And it looks horrible.
It is.
And Douglas, I imagine that's the same. Apart from the environmental damage, that will also look horrible.
Well, yes. That's part of it. But the looks are really the least of it. The Arctic plays a very important function for a lot of, for migratory birds, for other things. And it's a wild place. It's undeveloped, untouched. Yes, it's like taking Scotland, the northern parts of Scotland, which are beautiful and rugged and rural and remote, and nobody's out there. And they're beautiful because nobody's there. And just, putting some gravel pads down there, putting some, oil trucks and whatnot, machinery and rigs and pipelines and a couple of big boats offshore. And, how's that going to change Scotland?
Yeah, but the thing is, Doug, nobody ever goes to the Arctic. Do you know anybody who's been to the Arctic? I don't. And I can't see, all these people who say, funny enough, as we're talking to you, tomorrow morning's papers come in, and there's an envelope in one of them. It's from Greenpeace, and it says we have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to save the Arctic. But first we need to save our ship, the Arctic Sunrise. But the problem is, this is an indulgence on people who think that saving the Arctic is a good idea. But nobody ever goes to the Arctic. What's the problem with drilling oil in the Arctic? Nobody ever goes there. Nobody lives there.
It's like the Amazon.
It's a few birds. Birds.
It's like the Amazon is the lungs of the world. But in the same way, the Arctic performs a function. Isn't that right, Douglas?
What function?
Well, Douglas will tell you.
Well, it performs a function in that it's the global cap of our world, right? We're losing Arctic ice as in part because we're pulling all this carbon out of the Earth and we're putting it into the atmosphere. And then we have I can't say that the Arctic is like a global lung that would like the Amazon, but exactly. It does have an important role. There's vast stores of carbon in permafrost in the Arctic, and so the more carbon you pull out of the Earth and put into the atmosphere and into our oceans, it changes, and that could create an incredible feedback loop.
Yeah,
if we start to lose a lot of that permafrost, and it is a wild place. And so if you're all about, well, we need to cover this Earth with people, then yes, your value set is going to say it doesn't matter. But if you're someone who says, well, it's important to protect some of the wild and some of the to make room essentially for life on this planet.
Yeah, but nobody lives in the Arctic because it's too cold.
That's a ludicrous point of view.
It's too cold. No, and let me tell you another thing.
You haven't got any time to tell me anything
According
else.
to the last report I read, there is more ice now at the South Pole than there's ever been since records began. Ice is building up in the Antarctic.
That's true. Douglas, I'm terribly sorry, we've got to leave it there. Douglas Fisher there, who is with the Daily Climate, editor of the Daily Climate, in fact. I think you're taking a very selfish view, which surprises me not
Selfish?
one iota.
Why?
Because all you care about is how it affects you. You think that the Arctic doesn't matter because nobody lives there.
Well, nobody does live there.
You wouldn't like somebody to come and pave over the Epsom Downs so that they could just build a load of
But they've got a purpose.
affordable housing there.
They've got
well,
a
they
purpose.
haven't got a purpose any more than the Arctic
They've
has.
got the world's most famous race course. They've got a big space in the middle, which is a recreational space. It has a purpose.
Yeah, right. Well, so does the Arctic, and you don't have a
Nobody
purpose.
goes walking around the Arctic.
It's time to look into the light. We are the Two Mics. I cannot hear enough of this. I think it's brilliant.
I think it's brilliant as well.
And I'm going to dedicate it to Alexander in Waterloo, the man who was so upset with you earlier, because he sent me a very nice text as well to 81089. I appreciate it, Alexander, with some very important information on the Russian Revolution, which I'm not going to read out to you because it'll give you too many clues about one of the possible questions that I'm about to ask you.
No problem.
Now, as ever, these questions have been compiled by a team of independent quiz masters.
Right.
And what you're going to hear are two sounds. If you get it right, this is what you will hear.
Da, for home country.
And if you get it wrong, you'll hear this.
Mother Russia, fight on, comrades!
Okay, got that sorted out. Now, these are once again not multiple choice questions, and it is a country that you say you are an expert on.
I didn't say I was an expert on it. However, I am very happy to test my knowledge on Russia because I have an extensive knowledge of many things, and I would embrace Russia within that portfolio.
Excellent. Well, here's question number one.
Okay.
Who is the Prime Minister of Russia?
When?
Now. When? Now, who's the Prime Minister of Russia
Well,
now?
it doesn't matter who the Prime Minister of Russia is because he hasn't got any power.
That's not true.
Vladimir Putin is the president
That's
of Russia
correct.
and used to be the Prime Minister of Russia.
That's right.
When he stepped down as president because the constitution, which was forged out of the liberation of Russia from the days of communism when the Berlin Wall
Do you
fell.
know what the answer is or not?
Well, it's irrelevant. It's like you asking me who is the janitor at Downing Street. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Well, I'm afraid you're going to
Mother Russia,
get a no for that, right? The
Well,
correct answer would have been Dmitry Medvedev,
but nobody in the world knows.
who is the guy who was president when Putin was Prime Minister.
Exactly,
And they
exactly.
switched jobs.
Well, I knew that.
So
I
you
knew
should have
that.
known his name.
I did, but it was
By
an
the
irrelevant question.
By the way, because I know Alexander's keenly listening here, I do also know that technically speaking, the Prime Minister's title does not exist. He's actually the chairman of the government of the Russian Federation.
Exactly.
So anyway,
So
so
you asked
0
me a
out of 1.
question. You asked me a question to which there was no answer. So I am claiming victory
0
in that
out
question.
of 1.
You
Question
just
number
said
2.
there is no
Stop it.
Prime Minister.
Question number 2. What is the population of Moscow?
Moscow. Now, it depends if you're talking about central Moscow, greater Moscow, outer Moscow, inside.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Inside the Beltway, Moscow. What are we talking about here?
What is the population of Moscow?
Population of Moscow, as the Americans call it, is 6.2 million.
Mother Russia, fight on, comrades!
Hopelessly wrong. 12 million.
Well, that's greater Moscow.
It's Moscow.
No, it's not. It's like you asking me what's the population of central London or the population of greater London or the population of London inside the M25.
Well, I didn't ask you that either. I could have just said, what's the population of London? Question number 3. How far is it from Moscow to Vladivostok?
Moscow to Vladivostok is approximately... let me think this. It's 9 time zones. It's 3,100 miles.
Mother Russia, fight on, comrades!
Well, that's very close.
It's 5,700. That's almost halfway. So I can't
No,
give you that.
no,
if
no.
you said 5,000, I'd have given you it.
No, I'm sorry. Are we talking as the crow flies or by the curvature of the earth?
We're talking about distance.
Yeah, but there's two distances.
If you went on the Trans-Siberian Express, it's a bit further than that, so I imagine this is as the crow flies. So either way, you know we're near it, because if you're going on the Trans-Siberian Express, it doesn't matter whether you agree with me.
I don't agree with you,
All right,
sorry.
none out of 3. Question number 4. Let's see if you can get one right out of 4. Who wrote Anna Karenina?
Anna Karenina.
Not Karenina. Anna Karenina.
Anna Karenina. I know this is because, believe it or not, you and I worked with his granddaughter at the Daily Express.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. What's the guy's name? It's not Popov. It's not Popov.
It's not Popov.
Not Popov. It's Anna Karenina. It's Tolstoy-ish like name. Tolstoy.
Yeah, it's Tolstoy. I'll give you that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Do you know what his first name is, by any chance?
Leo.
Very good.
A master of Russian literature. Hey.
Leo Tolstoy. Porky has 1 out of 4. Very good indeed. Question number 5, and this is why I didn't want to correct you earlier. You might have forgotten what you said earlier. When was the Russian Revolution?
Between 1917 and 1919.
Incorrect.
No, it's not.
Incorrect.
No, it's not.
Let me refer you to Alexander in Waterloo. Okay? Dear Mike, he says, if you ask Comrade Porsky of the NKVD a quiz question on his knowledge of Russian affairs, please do not be persuaded by his protestations that the Bolshevik Revolution lasted from 1917 to 1919. It lasted less than 2 weeks. There were 3 main Bolshevik uprisings prior to the successful October 1917 overthrow of the Romanov dynasty.
Thank you.
However, 1905, 1911 and 1915. But after 1917, it was the ensuing civil war between the Red Bolsheviks and the White Nationalists that lasted until late 1919. Hope this helps clarify relevant dates. So the Russian Revolution took 2 weeks in 1917, so you're wrong.
Rubbish, because he's already, our London-based guy has admitted it was 1917 to 1919. It prompted the Russian Revolution.
No.
The whites against the reds.
No.
Have you never seen Dr. Zhivago?
Yes.
And that details the whole thing and
based
shows
on
exactly.
A novel.
A novel based on fact. And the
novel.
The novel bit was only about the love affair
Really?
between Dr. Zhivago and Julie Christie.
Yes.
But in fact, the historical background to it was completely right. And I'm sorry, Mike, but
1 out of 5.
No, 2 out of 5, because you are gerrymandering the answers to these questions. It was 17 to 19. That's what I said. I'm a student of Russian history, and that's the answer.
What is the current name for Stalingrad? Question number 6.
Stalingrad is... Stalingrad.
You're going to answer in a Russian voice now.
No. I know the answer. Stalingrad. Now, Stalingrad was the most brutal battle in the Second World War, OK?
Certainly was one of them.
It was terrible. People were eating dogs in the street and all sorts of things. You know, starvation, siege. And it's now called... it's something terribly different. And they renamed Leningrad as well. They renamed Leningrad and Stalingrad, OK? One is called... It begins with a V. Begins with a V, right? Begins with a V.
I'm not giving you any clues.
Begins with a V.
I'm not giving you any clues.
Begins with a V, and it's called... It's not Vladivostok, because that's right over on the north-south-east coast.
Yeah.
Quite close to
I have to hurry you.
Japan.
We're only on halfway through this quiz. I have to hurry you. Can you give him a countdown?
It's kind of escaped my mind at the moment.
All right, it's wrong then.
Mother Russia! Fight on,
The answer is
comrade!
Volgograd.
See, I told you it began with V.
Doesn't mean you got it
Well,
right.
if you'd have just said yes, then I'd have gone on to Volgograd, wouldn't I?
Oh, no, I don't think you would.
You don't give me anything in these.
I don't have to.
I told you it began with V, but it wasn't Vladivostok.
Well, you don't get an answer. Volvo begins with V as well. So there's all manner of other things.
Don't be ridiculous. Volgograd.
Victory. Number 7. Can you name 5 countries that were formerly part of the USSR?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Latvia.
Yep.
Lithuania.
Yep.
Ukraine.
Yep.
Belarus.
Yep.
And you want another one?
Yep.
You want
I want
another
5.
one? You want another one? Belarus, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, and, of course, the Crimea. Well,
I'll give you another
okay,
chance.
Well, Crimea is part of the
You've got 4
Ukraine.
out of 5. I'll give you one more.
Right, OK. I would say... I'm trying to think of those Baltic countries. Lithuania...
Baltic.
Eh?
Baltic.
The Baltic.
Baltic.
Latvia, Lithuania, and there is another one. And... Oh, I know. Belarus I've been to. I've been to Belarus.
Hurry up.
I've been to Latvia. I've
Hurry
been
up.
to Lithuania. What about Montenegro?
No, I can't give it
Montenegro
to you.
was near.
Russia!
Montenegro
Can't give
was
it to you.
close.
Can't give it to you. You could have had Estonia. You could have had Armenia. You could have had Georgia. You could have had Moldova.
Georgia.
You could have had Kyrgyzstan, Azerbaijan. You could have had Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, or Uzbekistan. So I'm afraid you've only got 1 out of 7 now.
Oh, that's
Question
rubbish.
number 8.
That's rubbish. I got 80% of that question right.
You had to get 5 out of 5. There's loads of them. You should have had 5 out of 5. You've been to Azerbaijan. You've been to Moldova.
Yeah.
Question number 8.
Yeah, I
Which
have,
Russian footballer was known as the Black Spider?
The Black Spider. Lev Yashin.
Da, for home country.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
2 out of 8. Well
ha,
done.
Ha, ha. Yeah.
Number 9. Question number 9. Which Russian dancer starred in Sex and the City?
Russian dancer.
Yeah.
Sex in the City.
Yeah. You know Sex and the City, right?
Well, I didn't watch much
Sarah
of it.
Jessica Parker
Was
and all
that
that.
Kim Cardell?
Not Cardell, no.
What was
And
it?
Not Kardashian either. Never mind what her name
Cattrall.
is.
Kim Cattrall.
Kim Cattrall, yeah. From,
Russia!
No, hang on. That's not my answer. That is not my answer. I was just asking who the actors were. Is this a man or a woman?
it's a man. I don't really normally like to give you clues.
A male actor in what?
He's a dancer.
Right.
He appeared in Sex and the City.
Baryshnikov.
Correct.
Thank you. Whoa, hey.
You've now got 3 out of 9.
That
is not a Russian song. Why are you singing a Jewish song now?
I'm doing the Russian dancing.
That's
Yeah,
not
go on.
Russian dancing. Deary me. You've never been to a Jewish wedding?
No, I haven't actually.
That's
No.
what they play at Jewish weddings. Number 10. How many letters are there in the Russian alphabet?
It's Cyrillic, isn't it?
It is Cyrillic. You don't get any points for that, though.
I would say in the Cyrillic alphabet there are 22 letters.
Mother Russia! Fight on,
I mean,
comrades!
it's a ridiculous question.
Why?
Well, how is anybody supposed to know?
Well, you're such an expert on Russia. You've been there. You were supposedly, tapped up by the KGB.
Yeah, I was, but I mean, I know the Russian language phonetically, not actually.
But if you really knew about
well, how
Russia,
many letters are there then?
33.
33. See, I knew it was either 22 or 33.
There are 33 letters in the Cyrillic alphabet.
So-
if you were really knowledgeable about Russia, you would have known that.
So my 2-2 is only 1 away from 3-3. Isn't it? Really?
Actually, no, it's 11 away.
Well, no, but I mean in terms of the numbers.
What, the
of
binary
each-
system you're talking
Yeah, the
about
binary
now.
system, that's
Yeah,
right.
in the same way
Yeah.
that by saying that Stalingrad's name begins with a V,
Yeah.
you think you should get that right.
Well, I do, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm delighted to tell you, Mr.
Yeah.
Parry, expert on Russia, that as usual, you have scored 3 out of 10. You're a normal average, and I'll look forward very much to the quiz next week.
I've got at least 4 because you cheated me in 1. You wouldn't give me a clue in another. That would have been 5. I got 4 of the former Russian countries right out of 5.
Yeah, but there's about 12 of them that you could have said.
I would say about 50% in a quiz which difficulty rating must have been over 95%.
3 out of 10. Nothing changes for Porky. He's yet another expert on another subject. 3 out of 10 is pretty good for you. Coming up in the next hour, of course, we've got loads more to do. You can keep sending in your messages. You can text us on 81089. Email us via the website, talksport.com. Sports yap us at extra time. Coming up, we're going to be talking to Paul Parker, ex-Man United and England defender. We'll find out what he makes of this stramash between Roy Hodgson and Liverpool, Brendan Rodgers and Sturridge, of course. We'll also be talking to Sandra Lee, our correspondent down in Australia, find out what's been happening in his part of the world as well. Of course, you can call us on 08717 22 33 44. Here's one from Tom in Dorset. He says, "Hey guys, great show. I love how Porky's Angels help him find parking spaces, lead him to garages when low on petrol, or find a shop to buy a pasty. Maybe they help Mr. Parry write his shoddy football scores results book this year, and maybe they can find him a woman," says Tom in Dorset. And Lee says in South Wales, "So Porky didn't know whether to turn left or right. He chose the correct one. They call that luck. No guardian angel required." Now, we've got loads and loads of other stories to talk about. By the way, did you say Prince the other day? Prince, apparently, a man very famously for his sort of reclusive activity.
Sorry, do you mean the artist formerly known as?
Yeah, but he's gone back to Prince now. So
Oh,
he's
has
now,
he?
he's,
I
now,
didn't know that.
he's now the artist formerly known as Prince, and
Right.
he's now calling himself Prince again.
Right.
He decided that he was going to do his fans a big favour and do a Q&A with them on Facebook. And so he
Right.
said, you can ask me as many questions as you like. He only actually answered one question.
How long did that take him?
During the whole hour that he was on.
What, in 1 hour he answered one question?
Yeah, he just did. I just don't think he fancied answering the questions. I think that was part of the problem.
What was the question? What was the one question?
Well, if I can find the story here, I'll tell you what the one question was.
Not much point telling me that story unless you tell me the punchline, which is what the one question was.
It was quite a boring question about how you should listen to his music, at what tempo you should listen to his music. He wasn't really very forthcoming about any of the personal kind of questions that people asked him about.
Are people ever as bold as to ask him about his height?
Nobody. Well, I don't think anybody asked him about that. He certainly didn't listen to it. Here's one of the questions. Greetings, my dear brother. Please address the importance of all music being tuned to 432 Hertz sound frequencies. Thanks in advance. Warmest regards. Prince says, here's why you should convert your music to 432 Hertz. And that was the only one, that's Hertz, I suppose, rather than Hertz.
Yeah, of course it is.
That's the only one he actually answered. He didn't answer this question. You inspire millions around the globe, but who inspires you? Would you consider opening up an online merchandising store so we can buy posters, shirts and such? Any chance of an anniversary reissue of Purple Rain? Are you really magic? He didn't answer any of those.
Purple rain, purple rain. The one I liked of his, because it reminds me of New York in the 80s, was When Doves Fly.
When Doves Cry.
It's When Doves Fly.
No, it's When Doves Cry.
Wasn't it?
We've been through this before.
This is what happens.
This is what it sounds
when
like.
Doves fly. This is what it sounds like.
When Doves Cry.
When Doves Cry. Dum, 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 dum.
Something like that. The other story that reminded me of you when I read it a little bit earlier on is a piece I read from Iowa in the United States. And there was a couple that went out for dinner, Stephen and Mackenzie Schultz from Iowa in the United States.
The Schultzes of Iowa.
And they did something that you would do, which I would find highly embarrassing. You stopped doing it now after I started picking you up on it. But they went and had dinner in a restaurant, and it was only $61 for the dinner. But they gave the waiter a $100 tip. Now, that's the kind of thing you used to do when we went out. And I used to find it highly embarrassing. I used to say to you, all you're doing is making yourself look like the big I am. You're sort of throwing you're throwing money around. You can afford it, like it's nothing to me, man.
No.
That kind of thing.
No, I never did it for that reason. I'll tell you what happened. I remember once in an Indian restaurant, I'd had an Indian meal, right? And then
How surprising.
Yeah. And then the Indian waiter who cleared up, I said, thanks very much indeed. He brought me the bill, the check as we call it in America, and I had a load of dosh in my pocket. I don't know what. I was walking around with £500 or something. I must have just got it out of the hole in the wall.
Oh, perhaps you'd got it from the petty cash tin on the Daily Express news desk.
No.
Sure?
No, it was years after the Daily Express. And so I gave the guy 20 quid as a tip. And the problem was the bill for the meal was only about like £34 because I was eating solo.
On your own?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, why not? In fact, fully
Why
not.
were you eating on your own?
Well, because there wasn't
You
anybody else
find
with
anybody
me.
else to take
no,
with you?
No.
You probably went round the bar asking if anyone wanted to come.
No.
And they all turned you down.
No. I was keeping myself to myself. And in fact, some Dutch company is opening a restaurant in Covent Garden soon, which is designed for people to eat on their own.
I think it's already
Singles.
open.
Is it already open?
Why don't you go up there after the show?
Why?
You can go and have breakfast on your own.
I don't have breakfast on my own. Look, mate, I could have breakfast every night of the week.
Why would you have it every night of the week?
Not breakfast, dinner. I could have dinner. I could have dinner every night of the week with captains of industry, leading members of the showbiz set.
Oh yeah. Your thespian mates.
Yeah, beautiful women.
Oh yeah.
Right, who are into top jobs and all that kind of stuff.
Beautiful women in top jobs.
Shakers and movers. And opinion formers.
Really?
Yeah.
You could have. Well, why don't you then?
Well, because I don't feel the necessary...
And you couldn't find anybody this particular night
I don't
when you were
feel
in the restaurant on your own.
Anyway, so I gave the guy who cleared up the table, I gave him 20 quid.
Right.
So then the manager came over, who's a really good guy, quite youngish fella, and I thought, maybe I should give him 20 quid. So I gave him 20 quid.
Yeah, but see, that's embarrassing.
No.
If I'd been there, I would have been like, I'm leaving now because it's now getting ridiculous.
No.
So the cook comes out to give him 20 quid.
Well, I did actually.
Before you know what you're doing, you've spent twice as much on the tips as you did on the meal.
Oh, I spent about 5 times as much on the tips
Well,
eventually.
that's
Because what happened was, when I gave it to the manager, I said, it wasn't for him. I said, look, I'm awfully sorry. I said, I haven't unbalanced the, the tipping schedule. He said, and I said, but I gave the guy who cleared up my table. But I realised the guy who cleared up the table had not actually done anything else.
Right.
He hadn't brought the meal out. He hadn't come to me a few times and said, is everything all right? And he just happened to clear up the table.
Right.
So I said, so look, do us a favour. Here's one good. Can you give that to the rest of the staff, please? And particularly the boy who actually looked after me, and brought me the poppadoms and the naan bread and all that kind of stuff. But then...
And the copious amounts of wine.
Yes. Well, yeah, a couple of bottles of wine. So anyway, what happened then was that I started getting a conscience because I thought, now, the problem is the one guy who did the least has got 20 quid, but the guy who actually did all the work is only getting a share of 20 quid amongst 3 or 4 other waiters, so he's probably going to get 5 quid. So I thought...
Well, that's all right. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I thought I'd better balance it up. So in the end, I gave every waiter 20 quid. Because I wanted to make sure...
There are probably people coming in from outside,
well,
pretending
maybe.
to be waiters at this
the
point.
problem was I couldn't remember who the waiter was who'd been attending my table.
Right.
And so in order not to sort of embarrass anybody by asking who it was and singling him out, giving him 20 quid, I thought I'd better give him all 20 quid. So I did.
But that's ridiculous, though.
Well,
Totally ridiculous.
I reflected on it later and thought maybe that was a bit over the top. But I couldn't see any other way out of it. Once I'd, started... tipping.
Well, surely you could have told the manager, why don't you take that 20 quid and just share it out within all the... Because you drew more attention to it.
I did that, but I'd already given the other guy 20 quid.
No.
So they were all getting much less than the bloke who had just merely come up with one of those, was it like a sort of ruler or something, and just scrape all the rubbish off the table.
Sometimes they have like a mini vacuum, don't they?
Yeah, a mini vacuum or something like that, that's right, yeah. And so it was my fault. I got the balance of the tipping... procedure wrong that night.
Well, these guys, right, what they did was they actually deliberately gave him more money because actually they said the service was so bad that they felt sorry for the guy because he was rushing around all over the place. People were kind of giving him all sorts of dirty looks, complaining about it. And in America, the service is normally very, very good.
Yeah, yeah.
And they both said that they used to run, they used to work in restaurants, they used to wait tables. And so they thought, we should really give this guy a big, big tip because he's working so hard and he's not complaining. And, so quite a nice thing for them to have done. Well, but I think it's entirely wrong. I think it just embarrasses everybody.
I do that all the time, but I tell you what, I was embarrassed in a restaurant in Glasgow once, right? Because do you remember Harry Cook?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, he's dead now, unfortunately. Yeah,
he was the northern correspondent for the Express.
Yeah, but for a while he was news editor, right?
Oh yeah.
And when he became news editor, he went completely power mad.
Sounds a familiar story.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. He'd been a correspondent on the road all his life, and he was a rough, tough Yorkshire lad. Got to call a spade, lad.
Yes.
And put dinner in the oven and all this kind of stuff. So he suddenly becomes the news editor in the north, and it was when they were scaling down the northern operation because it's all gone now, obviously. So they thought it's not worth employing a real news editor because it's only going to last another 18 months. So just give it to one of the old hands. But he went completely power mad. So he rang up Glasgow, which he was titularly in control of, even though they were closing down the Scottish Daily Express altogether. And he said, I'm coming up to Glasgow, lads, and I want the best bloody oyster bar in Glasgow for our lunch, and we'll have a brainstorming session to tell you how I want your copy written up in Glasgow in that strange language you write it in, right? So he goes up there and he's already intoxicated when he gets off the plane, even though he'd only flown from Manchester to Glasgow. Intoxicated very easily.
It's only about half an hour, isn't it?
It's about half an hour, about 40 minutes or something like that, He gets off the plane and find me the oyster bar. I don't see the bloody office. Where's the bloody oyster bar? It's really...
So he took him straight to Regano, presumably.
Yeah, exactly, something like that, yeah. So anyway, he gets in there and because he wanted to let everybody know he was in charge, it was all right, I'm bloody telling you what you're eating, I'll choose the food.
No, what an idiot.
Complete Burke. He'd never been in a position of authority before. But the best story is, there was a very attractive waitress looking after them, and he was a rough, tough Yorkshireman, and spade's a spade and all that. And he kept making lewd comments to this waitress. I mean, I wasn't there. This was reported back to me. I was far too senior then to get involved in that sort of thing, And so you'd say things like, got a nice pair there, love. Very original comments like that. I was saying, and and she was like reaching over the table to say, got some nice lines there, love, and all this kind of stuff. And all this kind of... Anyway, at the end of the meal, point of the story is...
You'll have to get to the point of the story soon.
The bill came in, and then he pulled his wallet out, very flashily, opened it, and took out a £5 note and said, right, love... Well, you're a real lass, you are. You could come from Yorkshire because, let's face it, you can take it, can't you? We like a bit of a joke with our waitresses. Handed the £5 note, and she said, in a beautiful Scottish accent, "Sir, that's very kind of you, but I really do not require money from a person like you, and I hope you never come to this restaurant again."
Quite right.
And walked off.
Excellent.
I mean, so at least I never get that sort of treatment when I'm trying to tip people.
Well, at least you have managed to find somebody more odious than you in that particular situation.
What?
But thank you very much indeed for the story. Well worth waiting for. This is TalkSport Extra Time. Sandra Lee in Australia coming up next.
Cry. When doves cry.
When doves cry.
Yeah.
Not anything to do with when doves fly.
No, I didn't say when they fly, cry. I mean, it's a word that rhymes, isn't it? So that's okay.
It is a word that rhymes. Now, we're going to talk to Sandra Lee coming up very shortly from Australia. Let me just read you a couple of tweets I've got here. At the two mics, Timmy says, the only guardian spirits that surround Porky are Ron Bacardi and Jack Daniels. And Ed says, I think he needs a padded cell. Listening to this show always makes me feel a bit more sane. And Paul the Pounder says that after he saw that drawing of your angel, he says, I think the angel needs a shirt sponsor.
Yeah, well, you only read out the ones that condemn me. Let me read out a few that actually praise me. So this is Only One United. That's obviously a guy who's a Manchester United fan. He says, Mike Parry was correct singing Hava Nagila. The song sung at Jewish weddings, it has Russian origins. Thank you very much indeed. And that song was da 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 da. Right, so you know that one. Right, next one. I've got to love it when Mike Parry thinks he's right and gets everything wrong.
It's an Israeli folk song, in actual fact. So he's wrong to say that it may have Russian origins because people who came to Israel came from many different places, part of the pogroms and all that.
There's a lot of Russians in Israel, believe me.
Yes, I realise that.
I've been there, been to Israel. Have you been to Israel?
I haven't, no.
No, so you don't know what you're talking about. Okay?
Well, if you've got a knowledge of Israel as anywhere like the knowledge of Russia, then I wouldn't take any notice of you.
Well, I don't get...
Our producer, on the other hand, has been to Israel, so he does have quite a lot of knowledge about it.
I don't get asked stupid, obtuse questions, in Israel. I go to a hotel...
You only ask stupid, obtuse questions.
No, I don't get asked stupid, obtuse questions. I go to a hotel in Jerusalem called the American Colony. And it's a haven for sort of Western correspondents who go there covering Middle East wars. But of course, you've never covered a Middle East war, have you?
No, I haven't.
No, you haven't. No. I didn't think you had.
No.
I can see that you haven't.
I've only covered one war, and that was the Bosnian war.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody could understand what that war was all about anyway, so
really?
Nobody wanted to go there.
It was the last proper war in Western Europe, actually.
Well,
important.
It was a war of... a tragic war because a lot of people died in it, but it was
most of them are.
Of course it is. Of course war is. But what I'm saying is, it was fortunately a one-off war, whereas the Israeli situation is ongoing. Unfortunately,
well, there's not a war going on there.
Well, there's always war going on. The Middle East is a very turbulent place, and Israel's the only democracy in the middle of it, and they constantly are in a position where they're either having to defend themselves or having to respond to activities around them. Happens all the time.
Yeah, well, thanks for pointing that out. Why don't you read out some more tweets?
Right, here we go. Have I done When Doves Fly? Yeah, gotta love it when Mike Parry thinks he's right and gets everything wrong. When Doves Fly, ha, 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 you guys need a TV show. That's very kind of you. Who's that from? Ed Jackson, okay. Another one here. It says... Mike... I see. It's from you. Mike Parry with his guardian angel, I see.
Yeah, it's from me.
Taking a mickey.
You really are hopeless, aren't you?
There's one here with a picture of George Best. So this is clearly a guy called Jay Coach. Coach, that's a funny name. But he's a Man United fan. And he says, shout out to you two guys all the way from Houston, Texas. Great to be listening to you fellas. Keep delivering, which is very nice indeed. And one here from Big Geordie.
Can you not practice this before you come back next week?
What?
Practice reading out tweets and see if you can actually read them without stumbling and stuttering over them.
There's so many of them.
Illiterate maniac.
There's so many of them that I have to be selective when I read out.
Well, read them before you read them out.
I don't want to sound like we're overpraising ourselves.
Well, you shouldn't read out all those praiseworthy ones all the time.
No, it's a bit difficult because most of them have some sort of, very nice sort of line in them. This one, for instance, the two mics, Guardian Angels. I feel Mike Parry is away with the fairies. But classic listening, dream on. So that's very nice as well. I can't help it. That's, as you know, what do you expect me to do?
Yeah, I expect you to occasionally read out things that make sense.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I want to talk to you about the changing of the seasons, because you were asking me just before what season is it down Australia, because they'll be on the opposite side of the globe, so they'll be going into spring. Exactly. We're going into autumn. I'm actually dreading autumn slightly, because the number of leaves that are going to fall in my garden, where I wasn't in this house.
Why can't we do something about those leaves?
Well, hang on a second. I'm going to be burning an awful lot of the leaves, because obviously I'm going to have to rake them all up and burn them, so it's going to be very smoky down in my neck of the woods over the course of the next couple of weeks, I suppose. Well, what else are you supposed to do with leaves?
I think that what we should do is, because, funny enough, I was only saying the other day to somebody in my poetic way...
To somebody?
It's like watching snowdrops coming out of the sky at the moment. There's so many leaves, brown leaves falling off the trees. I mean, I walk down my street in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, where there's lots of trees, and you get rained on by leaves falling off the trees. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. But it's
fine if they're not landing in your garden. I mean, you don't care because you've only got some concrete sort of, terrace, haven't you?
No.
You haven't got a garden?
I have.
No, you haven't. You've got a concrete terrace.
No. What about the grounds that surround my penthouse? They're gardens.
Well, there's not grounds, are there? You live in a block of flats.
No.
You're not responsible for what happens on the street.
Yes, I'm responsible for what happens in the grounds of my apartment.
What grounds are you talking about? There's
The trees and-
dodgy old
and-
garage downstairs where they
no.
stole your bike from.
No.
What are you describing? It's not like you live in, Hampton Court Palace
I'm
or something.
describing the lawns and the trees.
I didn't see any
within the
lawns when I was there.
Well, it was dark when you came. So
It was not dark.
So you couldn't see them.
There's an entrance
Lawn
way
at
from
the
the
front.
street.
Yeah.
Right. There's a couple of parking booths and there's an underground car park.
No. There's
no
lawns.
gardens.
There's lawns. There's trees.
Well, haven't you got a gardener
In
for
fact,
that?
we had to pay $10,000 to get rid of a tree that blew to one side during a gale last
Hmm.
winter and crushed the roof of the block next door.
Really?
And we had to get a crane in to take it out. Massive crane. It was a massive job. But the what I'm trying to say to you is we should have lorries driving around where the trees are shedding leaves and they'll go in the back of the lorry and then take them away and reprocess them.
Well, the councils generally pick up quite a lot of the leaves that are on the streets.
But I don't understand. Surely that must be something that you can actually turn into a useful product. When you've got that many leaves with that much mulch, surely you can turn that into like fertiliser or something.
Maybe they do.
You?
I don't know what the councils do with it.
Well, yeah, but most of them seem to put them in
They
bags.
seem to put them in bags,
Yeah.
but maybe they use that for later use. Maybe they mulch them
they
there.
should do it more efficiently. Because
What, are
if
you suggesting some kind of fuel source or something?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you can have a snow plough, right, which goes around pushing snow out the way at the front, you could, in the autumn, you could re-adopt those vehicles to have like a suction thing on the front, right, and suck the leaves up and put them in the back.
Yeah,
where
you could.
Where normally the salt would be if you're a salt sprayer.
Did you see that they've all bought loads of salt now? Apparently for the winter that we may not have
They've started sending out the salting lorries already, and it's been
Which
the
is
driest
bonkers.
September.
Well, not only is it dry, but it's also not cold.
It's Indian summer. It's very warm. In fact, today's the first day this week that I haven't worn shorts.
Is it?
Because it's still that warm.
Thank goodness for that.
Down in Stockbroker Belt, mate, you can walk around with it, and there's not a problem at all. But I don't know why we can't collect the leaves up, turn them all into dust, and then use that dust, for instance, to, you could make it part of the aggregates industry, which is used to put foundations into buildings.
So what, you would use dust from leaves
Yeah,
to
of course you would.
put buildings,
Of course you could.
foundations? That doesn't sound very safe.
Why? Because it's just like sand. It's just like
Well,
sand.
it isn't like sand at all.
It is like sand. I know it's like
sand
sand.
is made from ground down rock.
Yeah, that's right.
Leaves are not in any way rock, are they?
No, they're not rock. I
So
agree.
they don't have the same properties as sand.
Yeah, but they do, because you see, if you think about it, what is coal?
Coal
What is
is
coal?
a fossil fuel.
And how was coal made?
But coal is made under the ground over thousands and thousands and thousands of years.
From trees.
From trees, yeah.
Thank you.
Petrified
Thank
wood.
you. From trees.
Yeah.
So, leaves...
Well, that's a bit different. You'd have to leave the leaves for a few thousand years, which I think even any forward-thinking council is going to struggle with.
Leaves come from trees, therefore it must have the same inherent natural properties.
Not necessarily.
Therefore, if you put it into the ground amongst some pebbles with some cement...
For how long?
What do you mean for how long? For instantly, and it would have the same property.
Ridiculous idea.
I did building construction at the University of the Trent.
Nottingham Poly.
My major subject was urban estate management, and one of the papers was building construction.
Have you got a certificate?
Sort of.
No.
No,
I think.
no,
Because
sort
you
of.
could bring the certificate in and show it to us.
Well, I mean, I don't like to boast about things like that. I'm like a footballer who wins international caps. I don't usually flaunt them.
OK, well, next time at your luxury penthouse, I'll have a look for it. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We're going to talk to Sandra Lee down in Australia, coming up next. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast available coming out in a few hours' time, of course. Mike Parry and Mike Graham will be back as well on Monday night. We've got loads more to do. Right now, we're going to go down to our regular correspondent, the lovely Sandra Lee, who I should tell you, Mike, had a birthday just a couple of days ago.
Is that right?
Yeah, as I discovered, because she has her birthday the day before my sister does. Sandra, very good morning to you.
G'day and good morning to you two.
Yeah, hi, Sandra.
And many happy returns. I was teeing Parry up to say many happy returns, but he's obviously not thinking about you. He's too busy thinking about himself.
No, not at all.
So let me take the opportunity to say, I hope you had a lovely birthday. What did you do for your birthday?
Thank you very much. I did. I had my husband took me out for dinner on my birthday, which is the 1st of October, and then yesterday we went out and had lunch for a second go over. So it was pretty good.
It's always good to celebrate it twice, isn't it?
Of course it is. Now, Sandra, you just mentioned there October, 1st of October. Now, October, of course, is Halloween month, right?
Yes.
You know, you and I know how big Halloween is in the States. Sadly, it's had a life of its own over the last 25 years in this country. Do you do anything for it in Australia?
Yeah, the kids do. There's loads of kids who do trick and treating. They all, dress up in their costumes as they do in America. But it's not as long in Australia as it has been. What you've just said, 25 years in the UK.
It hasn't been 25 years. He's talking absolute nonsense.
It has been 25 years.
Rubbish.
I'm telling you, it has.
It's only been in the last 10, really, that's become a big deal.
Well, how long's it been popular in Australia?
About 10.
Oh, really? And before that, nothing.
Yeah.
So is that is that American influence, or is it just another sort of cynical commercial operation?
No, I think it's the American influence, and also just with the a huge sort of influx of mass media and the internet.
Yeah,
kids
true.
are seeing it overseas.
That's true.
They're seeing it in America and movies, so they just think, why can't they have a bit of action?
The reason he's thrown you on this one, by the way, Sandra, is that he sent out a tweet earlier on this week accusing me, trying to be funny, talking about me not needing a mask for, saying it's Halloween.
Well, he's got a face like a pumpkin.
And of course, everybody picks him up on it because he made out like it was Halloween night because he got it wrong.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
And he didn't realise, in fact, it was at the end of the month that Halloween comes.
No.
But I'll tell you something interesting.
Not at the beginning.
I know, it's not unusual for him to do that. But I'll tell you what's interesting. When I was growing up in London, both my parents were from Scotland.
Well, that's not interesting.
Well, I haven't told you the rest of the story
That's not
yet.
interesting.
Both my parents, who Sandra knows well, who are, of course, from Scotland. In Scotland, Halloween was always a massive thing. And so I would come home from school on Halloween night, and we would, my sister and I would dress up as witches and wizards. We'd go knocking on other people's doors, trick-or-treating.
And did you say trick-or-treat? I thought we never said
we never said trick-or-treat. We had a different phrase, which was Scottish. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And we used to have a thing called a treacle scone, which was like a big sort of almost
probably like money or a nutcher.
No, it wasn't quite like that. No, but I don't know if you've ever seen any of this in Scotland, Sandra. But you'd have like this treacle scone, which was almost like a big naan bread covered in treacle. You'd hang it from the ceiling, and you'd try and take a bite out of it while it was swinging around, and then you'd go ducking for apples and all of that. And I used to go to school the next day and tell all my friends that this is what I've been doing. They used to look at me like I was mad.
Yeah, well,
because nobody else in England did it.
Oh, I see.
Well, why did the Scots do it?
Yeah, I don't know what I think it's because it sort of dates back to All Hallows Eve and a bit more of a religious country, I suppose, than England was.
A bit more
by that
superstition.
time.
But also, sorry, please go on, Sandra. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say probably a bit more Presbyterian.
Yeah, well, that's true. But also in Scotland, on New Year's Eve, all these mad people in Scotland, they go out and carry bits of coal around. It's called first footing. And I don't know what they do. I think they chew the coal,
That's
don't they?
New
or
Year. No, you just have to carry a piece of coal.
Yeah.
Right, and you're supposed to...
all these people on New Year's Eve, Sandra, you've got all these people in Scotland walking around with bits of coal in their pocket.
And you have to know, the first footer has to have dark hair, and he has to generally have a bottle of whiskey as well.
And what is a first footer?
It's supposed to bring you good luck. It's the first person to cross the threshold after midnight.
Yeah,
in the first part of the new year. You don't know anything about your culture, do you?
Well, I know about our culture. I don't know about the crazy culture of the people north of the border. But anyway, there we are. Now, Sandra, unfortunately, world events, of course, lead us to have to talk to more serious events. Australia have just... the Australian Air Force has just joined the strike force in the Middle East.
Yes, they have. We've been expecting it for about, I'd say 10 days now, when the Prime Minister dispatched the RAF over to that part of the world. And they have just confirmed last night that yesterday was the first time that they took part in the bombing raids. So they haven't actually told us what they've done or what they achieved. They've been pretty scant on the detail, but it was one of those issues that, a lot of people in politics are saying that should have been debated in the House of Parliament, which it wasn't. It was just a unilateral decision by the Prime Minister. So there's a bit of unrest about it, but I think most people realise that, ISIS or ISIL or IS, or whatever you want to call them, are a major threat, at least over there.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult to know, isn't it? I mean, David Cameron made a sort of surprise visit to the Cyprus Air Force Base where the British flights are going from.
Right.
And it's hard to know. I mean, obviously, we've got footage of what they're doing, but you don't really... I mean, it's such an amorphous kind of group of people that you can't pin them down into one area. And since I presume Australia are in the same boat as the UK, we're not bombing anybody in Syria. So it means that you can't actually, guarantee that whatever the operation is actually getting everybody.
Yes, exactly. That's the whole thing. I mean, there is so many unknowns about it, isn't there?
Oh, well, completely. I mean, don't even know who the enemy are or where they are. Just talking about the military in Australia, Sandra. I mean, Australia is an island, obviously a very, very big island, and Britain's an island. Do you have a sizable navy? Because, I mean, the only time we ever hear about the Australian Navy in the Northern Hemisphere is when they go out on rescue missions and rescue, mad people in yachts that aren't seaworthy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and they're usually ponds.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, you do occasionally hear of them trying to ward off boatloads of immigrants trying to get into the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. We have a massive border patrol unit there, right. And that's all Navy. So our Navy is pretty big, and in fact, our Navy is like most navies. It's the first port of defence of any country, and it is quite big, and they're based pretty much all around the major ports.
Yeah.
So, as you say, we've got a massive border
coastline,
of an island continent. It's nearly impossible to patrol.
Yeah, and presumably they're still involved. Are they not in? There's a new search for the missing plane, isn't there? Starting on Monday. Are the Navy involved in that?
Yes, they're involved in that. There's a new search. It begins on Sunday. Actually, they're going to cover a whole pile of new ground or new seabed, actually. They've got sonars and they've got video cameras that they're sending down several kilometres, dragging them along behind them, behind a ship, and fingers crossed that they'll find something. But, this week the Prime Minister was out saying that it's possible that we'll never find the plane.
Well, I think that's the case. And do you know what? Although I think it's very compassionate of the Australian nation to continue to, enthusiastically mount a search, if I was running Australia, I wouldn't, because I think it's a complete waste of time. What you've just said is probably true. They'll probably never find it. The odds against finding it are so huge. I mean, I was reading today that these geographical surveys underwater are throwing up things like they found mountains underwater the size of the Eiger, which they never knew existed. It's unexplored territory. And when you think about that, how on earth are they going to find one little plane?
I know, that's the whole thing. And one little plane that would have broken up well and truly when it hit the water, and subsequently it's been under the ocean now for 6 months. So you can't tell me that it would be in one place and it would be sort of sitting there in a perfect little bit to be found.
No, of course not.
Incredible story.
It'd be shifting around. And, I mean, what I'm saying is about the geological survey underwater, some of it's so deep that you can't actually get a vessel to go that far down without the vessel imploding.
Well, that was the problem we had with the big with the submarine escapade. They had to kind of pull it back in the end, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So whilst I think it's very indicative of the heart of the Australian people to want to try and bring this grief to some sort of an end, I just think that the chances against it are now so remote. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, when the Titanic went down in similar sort of circumstances, it was nearly 100 years before they found it. Because
they didn't have the wherewithal to look for it in 1812, did they?
Well, no, but when they did, it still took years and years and years, you know what I mean? And the Titanic...
And they knew where that went down.
They knew where it went down. It was substantially bigger as a piece of an object that went down than an aeroplane is, particularly an aeroplane, as Sandra's pointed out, that's probably broken up, the wings have come off it and all that kind of stuff. And I just think I don't think it will ever be found. And I think that somebody should turn around and say, look, the chances of it being found are so remote now that you're really only keeping up forlorn hopes for the families by even mounting a search.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to be the person that decided to call it off, would you?
Well, I don't know.
Politically speaking. I'm asking Sandra, actually, that. You don't have to answer every question.
No.
You just, you wouldn't want to. And Sandra, listen, go on, sorry.
No, they've already spent, dedicated $57 million for the search operation, and if it keeps going, that toll is only going to keep clicking over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, one final story. There was another shark attack in Perth, I understand, recently.
Yes, yesterday a surfer was out on his surfboard and he was attacked by either, according to him, he thought it was a couple of bronze whalers, which are quite aggressive sharks, or according to others, it was a white pointer, one of the great whites. And he's lost both hands and part of one arm, and has got serious injuries to his legs. So,
and where was he surfing? Was it a popular spot?
Yeah, it's a popular spot. He was the only one out in the water at the time, and it was off Esperance, which is sort of pretty much known for having the shark population out there. So, as we've said before, you take your life into your hands going out surfing in those areas.
You certainly do. I don't know why. I know this sounds ridiculous because you have a culture, but if I was in Australia and, enjoying the hospitality that Australia offers to tourists, I wouldn't go anywhere near the sea for the sheer fear that over the last sort of 18 months, people who've been attacked by sharks have sometimes been attacked by sharks in areas where they were confident there weren't any sharks. And if the sharks are now moving into new territories, surely nowhere's safe off the coast of Australia.
Well, you could argue that because over the last 5 years, 12 people have actually been killed by sharks. And they're all in pretty popular areas as well. Yeah. I mean, only 2 weeks ago, there was that guy who was taken by the shark swimming at Byron Bay.
Yeah.
I don't think, as I've said before, I think I was down there, I wouldn't go anywhere near the water. Sandra, thank you very much, as ever. We've got to run. We're out of time.
Thank you.
Unfortunately. The idea of you anywhere near the sea actually terrifies me, so I'm really glad that you wouldn't go. I just can't imagine you in a swimming costume, for a start.
Oh, really?
No.
But, I mean, at our last live show, and we need to tell our listeners about our next live show in a minute, there was rather an impressive picture of me.
There was a picture of you wearing shorts and a T-shirt.
Yes.
Not wearing a swimming outfit.
Well, I mean, I was clearly about to enter the water, so, yeah.
Well, from a high cliff?
Well, no, I was going to go, obviously, walk down the cliff. I'm going to jump off the cliff, obviously.
Obviously
but I mean,
not.
I was just posing for the picture on the cliff because it was a good backdrop.
Well, everyone's seen that picture. I think they're quite shocked that it could possibly have been you. But yes, we will talk about the upcoming live show. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk to Paul Parker. You'll remember as a former Man United England defender who's got lots to say about Man United. They're taking on your team, Everton, of course, in just one of the 3 live TalkSport commentary games. We've got Arsenal-Chelsea, we've got Aston Villa against Manchester City as well. It's all coming up on TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the 2 mics. Of course, it's Alan Brazil and Mickey Quinn coming up at 6 o'clock. They're going to be looking ahead to all of that Premier League action. And this is the point at which, Mr. Parry, I want to ask you about your predictions for this weekend.
Sure.
There's some great games coming up this weekend. And, of course, we've got 3 of the best games live right here on TalkSport.
Yep.
Commentary of Aston Villa, Man City, 5:30 tomorrow. Then on Sunday, as you said, the very early kick-off, Manchester United against Everton at Old Trafford. And at 2:05, Chelsea-Arsenal on Sunday afternoon as well. So a massive weekend and some great games. And as we were saying there, a lot of people on Predictor so far backing Liverpool to bounce back against West Brom. We'll get to that one in a minute. But the early game tomorrow morning, or tomorrow afternoon, I should say, is Hull against Crystal Palace. What do you make of that one then?
Hull Crystal Palace will be 2-2.
2-2, do you think?
Yes.
I think Hull might just have a bit too much with Crystal Palace, even though Neil Warnock has been doing very well.
Yep.
I'm going to say 2-1 to Hull. Next one up is Leicester City against Burnley, 2 promoted teams who couldn't have had more different fortunes, really, could they?
Well, Burnley are struggling like mad.
They really are.
I don't think they'll get any joy in this game. This will be Leicester 3, Burnley 1.
Yeah, I'm going 2-0 for that one.
Right.
Liverpool up next, of course. They did have a rough time in Basel. Steven Gerrard said they were soft in all areas of the game.
He was highly critical of his own players, wasn't he?
And he said, we went there hoping we'd get a win and at worst get a draw. It turned out they got absolutely nothing at all.
Nothing.
I'm not sure they're going to get out of that group, in the Champions League, are you?
I'm not convinced. Not convinced, but
and West Brom are on a bit of a roll.
They do.
I think West Brom might get something out of this game. I'm going to say, and I suppose it depends if Sturridge is going to play because we'll talk a little bit more about the row in a minute with Sturridge and Hodgson and Brendan Rodgers. But Sturridge supposedly is not fit enough to be called up for England. Yeah. But if he plays against West Brom, he's still not going to be that fit, is he?
I still think Liverpool have got too much at Anfield. 2-1. 2-1 Liverpool.
I'm going to go 2-1 West Brom, actually.
Oh,
surprisingly
you think West Brom will win at Anfield?
I do, yeah. I do.
Well, that's a remarkable prediction.
I think Liverpool's psyche has been slightly shaken.
Right.
I'm not sure that they're going to do it. Sunderland against Stoke City. Sunderland haven't really been doing too much this season, and Stoke have had a couple of decent wins, but I still think this one will be a draw somehow. I'm going to go 1-1.
I'm going to go 0-0.
Really?
And Stoke, to me, are a team that, if they get 2 or 3 games, right, in which they do well, supposing they sort of win 2, draw 1, or something like that, the club themselves whip up the expectancy factor and how well we're doing, and it's brilliant. And then they lose 2 games, and then it's all sort of, bit of a setback, but we'll be back at it. They're a very, very indifferent team. And as you say, Sunderland don't seem to be bubbling like they did at the end of last season. 0-0.
0-0. Well, I'm going 1-1. Next up, Swansea against Newcastle. Now, we've talked about Alan Pardew in the past earlier this week. He's been said to have only perhaps this game left to try and save his job. Difficult to know with Mike Ashley which way he's going to go, but very few people can see Newcastle getting a win out of Swansea. And I'm one of them. I think it will be 2-0 to Swansea.
2-0 to Swansea.
Swansea at home, of course.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think I'll go 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah, I think I'll go 3-0.
So, do you think Pardew will be out of a job by the end of the weekend?
Well, then? I think it'll be in the balance. Put it that way. But I mean, Mike Ashley doesn't seem to have any great interest in replacing the manager because he knows that he does exactly what he wants him to do.
Right. And did you see as well that he's increased his investment in Rangers? I think over 9%
now
over the last day or so.
Yeah,
so
9%.
Maybe he's. But you can't believe that he would want to be more in favour of being in charge of Rangers than he would Newcastle. Would you?
Why?
Well, because I don't think Rangers is anywhere like as money making an opportunity, if you like, as Newcastle.
It's a bigger institution in Scotland than Newcastle is in England.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And it is an institution. I mean, even the ground, Mike, when you go there, its architecture is different to Celtic Park in that it's all very traditional and old.
Yeah, it's very stark, isn't it? Sitting there in Govan.
I mean,
there's nothing else there. It just kind of rises out of the ground.
And in your position as editor of the Scottish Daily Mirror, did you ever get into the boardroom?
I did. Yeah,
I did as well.
What I found fascinating
panels and all that.
I found fascinating was I went there for some charity do or something like that. But of course, there was nobody there from Celtic, even though it was a joint venture.
Yeah.
They had to have separate lunches.
Yeah.
Right? And they wouldn't talk about Celtic. They would not name Celtic. They referred to them only as that club on the other side of town.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said to them, look, I think it was something about like kicking racism and bigotry out of football. I said, what chance have you got of kicking it out if you can't even name the team that supposedly there's a problem with?
Funnily enough, I went there to a Rangers Celtic game, an Old Firm derby, and it was exactly the same, really. I mean, I've been to plenty of big clubs in the boardrooms after the game where the directors of both clubs mix, but there was very little of that going on.
No,
it didn't happen. Agree.
Okay, now the first TalkSport live commentary game, Aston Villa against Manchester City. City also not having had a great time in the Champions League.
Well, I think City are flaky. And I think Pellegrini's flaky. And I think, dropping Joe Hart has shown signs of panic and all this kind of stuff. I don't think he's got a grip on it. I'm going to go for a Villa victory.
Really?
2-1.
Now, that's a very bold statement. I'm going to go 2-2, I think. But I agree with you that things are a bit dodgy at the moment for Man City. And most of the fans are very upset with Yaya Toure as well. And they're wondering what's gone wrong. Because he just doesn't seem, particularly for these big games like Champions League games, just doesn't seem to be interested.
Not clicking, is he?
Very weird. Now, your one is coming up next. This is the second live TalkSport commentary game. It's Sunday, the early kickoff, midday. Manchester United versus Everton at Old Trafford. Now, this was the one that David Moyes had such a problem with last year, wasn't it? Because people said that David Moyes had never, Everton had never won at Old Trafford until David Moyes became the Man United manager.
Well, it was the other way around, I think. I think it was David Moyes never... that's right. Had never had an Everton team win at Old Trafford, but he soon changed that when he became Manchester United manager.
Well, that's exactly what I just said.
Yeah, but he didn't say it in the right sequence. I'm going to say...
You've just said it in a much more long-winded way.
Manchester United 1, Everton 2.
OK. What, you think there's going to be enough Everton firepower? I mean, you're talking about Falcao. You're talking about no Wayne Rooney, of course, so he won't be able to play against his old club. But, Van Persie's going to be playing. But, you're going to have...
I don't care. They've got a flaky defence.
Angel Di Maria.
They've got a very flaky defence.
Yeah, but they're going to score more than one goal against Everton. Everton have got a flaky defence as well.
Well, I can tell you something. In my view, they should have suffered the pain of a draw against West Ham 2-2 because... It was an
offside goal, though, wasn't it?
I don't think it was. It was a very good quote from David Gold, who I saw in a tweet. He said the man's head might have been offside, but his body wasn't.
What's the ruling on that?
Well,
the ruling on that is if your head is offside, then you're offside.
No,
this is true.
No, to me, there has to be a spirit about football, and the point is, it was a wonderfully worked goal. It was a wafer thin verdict on the offside, and if I, as a referee,
the rule is that basically any part of the body that you can play the ball with makes you offside. So if it was hand, for example, he couldn't be offside. But if it's his head, which it was, then he was offside.
I'd interpret it as the majority of the bodily form being offside or not, and the majority of the bodily form wasn't. So
but that's not the rule.
I just said that. Well, it would have been my rule because I was the referee.
You can't make the rules up as you go along.
The referee's decision is final, and that would have been a 2-2 game to me.
So you would have overruled the linesman.
I would have overruled the linesman, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go Manchester United 3, Everton 2. I think there's going to be a lot of goals in it because I think both of their defences are not very good. And I think that Manchester United should have enough ability up front to actually win.
Yeah.
Next game is another live TalkSport commentary game, believe it or not. Chelsea against Arsenal.
Yes.
And Diego Costa, presumably that he's fit, I think will score 2 goals in this, and I think it will be 2-0 to Chelsea.
Fascinating game. I think Arsenal will score, but I think it'll be something more like 3-1 to Chelsea.
OK. All right. Tottenham against Southampton's an interesting game, isn't it? Pochettino
very interesting.
Having his old club visit him at White Hart Lane.
Very interesting. Tottenham 1, Southampton 3.
Really?
Yes.
I'm going to go Tottenham 1, Southampton 2. We're actually agreeing on quite a lot of this. And then finally, West Ham QPR. It is the return of Harry Redknapp to Upton Park, the Boleyn ground.
Yeah, have to give that to West Ham 2-1.
2-1 to West Ham?
Yeah.
Yeah, QPR are not doing very well at the moment, are they?
No.
I'm going to go 2-0. That means that we've actually agreed on quite a lot of those, but we will be checking up next Monday night to see how well you did. Now we mentioned the live show that we did last Friday night.
Yes,
we did 2 actually
massive
last Friday
success.
night.
Yes,
so we've decided we're going to have to do another one. You were telling me earlier that you've now arranged for another one to be done, and the tickets are going to be available soon.
The next one is 3 weeks tonight.
Okay,
that's October the 24th.
It is.
It's at.
That's not Halloween, is it?
It's not Halloween. Halloween's the week after.
Yeah.
It's at what we can regard now as our home theatre, which is the Hen and Chickens in Islington. Looking forward to going back there and
so is it a Halloween special then?
Seeing the guys. It will be a Halloween special because it's a week ahead of.
Are you going to dress up?
No, I'm not going to dress up. No, but there'll be a Halloween influence.
We could have a Halloween theme, couldn't we?
There'll be a Halloween theme to it.
We could have a pumpkin, couldn't we? There or something.
Have a pumpkin. We'll have a pumpkin.
With a candle in it.
To match your face.
Well, I gave you that one. I just thought, you made such a fool of yourself over the course of the show.
What do you mean made a fool of myself?
Give you something with your guardian angels
I'm just
and your nonsense
mate.
about...
I see it'll happen sooner than anybody else, that's all.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, that's what it's going to be. Tickets will go on sale on Monday. And
okay. So so people should keep looking out for the 2 mics.
Please keep looking out for the Mike Parry 8, the 2 mics, and IROMG
at
IROMG because that's where we announce tickets. And look, without blowing our own trumpets. When we
you
put
can blow your own trumpet if you like. You can't blow mine.
No, exactly. When we put the tickets on sale for the previous ones, if we gave you a bit of notice, they sold out very quickly.
Yeah.
We only had 10 days' notice for the last one, and they sold out by the time the concerts came around. So all I'm saying is, if you want to come, and we'd love to see you there, I should get onto the old ticket line as soon as you like, because they will go very quickly.
Well, you just told them not to do that until Monday.
Yeah, well,
which is it then?
They won't be on sale till Monday, so there won't be a ticket line to ring.
Okay.
Because you have to ring a special, you have to connect with a special link. We'll put the link out by Monday.
It's an online ticket agency.
Online ticket agency.
You don't ring anybody.
No, you don't ring anybody.
Why are you saying you ring a special number?
Bit old-fashioned in terms of
the trouble with you is that you've now completely confused people. One, they don't know when it is. Right, it's Friday the 24th. It will be one show at 9:30 at night, probably.
Absolutely.
The tickets will be on sale on Monday. If you follow the 2 mics, at the 2 mics, we'll tell you exactly when those tickets are available, and we'll give you the link, which will tell you how to get them.
Yeah, all you have to
so why couldn't you have just said that?
All you have to do is click on a link, and that takes you straight...
Don't try and explain
straight to a site where it says 2 mics concert, and you can buy the tickets there. But if it
don't try and explain it.
If it refuses to accept your inquiry, it means the tickets have all gone.
It's too much information.
No.
Short and sweet.
I'm just being helpful.
This is why you could never be involved in production of a newspaper.
No,
you were only involved in a gathering of the news. You have no idea how to present it. You just don't know how to give people information that they can use.
I did it from top to bottom.
Yeah, right. Mostly bottom. That was the 2 Mics podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the 2 Mics.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What?